In the heart of flowers on the street, suddenly a sink, deep in the eyes of water. Yang opened a touch of black ink. Zhang Wang has already begun to inquire about her physical condition. It seems that he is suspicious of her. However, whether Lu Zheng's words are intentional or unintentional really remains to be studied. However a mind electricity turns, the flower heart in the MO passes a few kinds of conjectures slightly. See Lu Zheng's Mao Guang also took a bit of tiny not to investigate. But his face was pulled at the corners of his lips, and his voice was slightly cold. These dog slaves, they used to be like this. If it doesn't happen that time, I think it's because they are still so careless. In this way, it's not totally useless. At this point, she couldn't help thinking that there were too many miscellaneous things hidden in King Yu's house, which was too restrictive. In the long run, there would be certain obstacles for her to eradicate various forces in the house. After a while, she should find a time to clean up. The medicine boy over there, just at this time, had grasped all the herbs, but there were only 2 packages. Lu Zheng personally handed over the medicine and explained. It's used to treat malaria. It's also used to soothe the nerves and nourish typhoid fever. There is no medicine in the government now. Wei Chen has ordered people to buy it, and it can be delivered later. Those herbs are not commonly used. It's normal to have none in the government. Therefore, Mo Shanghua was not surprised. She took the medicine and handed it to Qinya behind her. She said with a smile, I know, but there is something else in my hospital. I can't wait here. Princess and go back is, wait for medicine to catch back, Micro-Minister will send someone to send. Lu Zheng drooped his head slightly and his voice was clear and respectful. That's good. Dr. Lu is working hard. I'll leave now. The flowers on the street answered softly, then got up and left. Lu Zheng bowed to see the ceremony. Until the flowers left, he stood up straight, looking at the direction of the door. His mouth whispered something, but only see the shape of the mouth, do not listen to sound. Mo Shanghua had been waiting until noon. Qinya Kai came to say that the medicine had been delivered, but the person who came to deliver the medicine was Zhang Wan. Although Mo Shanghua didn't like Zhang Wang, he still ordered him to come in. As soon as Zhang Wani entered the house, he polite respectfully and said, I'm still talking back to Mrs. Yun. When I heard that the princess was ill, I was anxious. I went back to Mrs. Yun in a hurry. I rushed out of the house to catch the medicine, and sent it to you. I don't know if the princess is better now? As he said it, he quietly raised his eyes to see the look of flowers on the street, and his eyes flashed with some unknown color. Mo Shanghua glanced at Zhang Wan with his remaining light, and swept away the falsehood at the bottom of his eyes, but he didn't know what to do. He covered his lips with a handkerchief and coughed twice. Then he said, I'm really sorry to have a housekeeper. Come on, show the housekeeper a seat. Thank you, princess. Zhang Wang answered and sat down. I heard that the princess is weak. I happened to see a 100-year-old ice lotus in the drugstore today. I bought it. I hope the princess can take it to nourish me. In the meantime, he asked the boy to take up a sandalwood box and open it in front of the flower. Mo Shanghua sneered in his heart, but his face was still sickly. He only glanced at him casually. The ice lotus is fragrant. The housekeeper is really bothering. I will report it to the Lord some other day, and give you a good reward. I dare not be rewarded by the Lord for my duty. Zhang Wan's eyes flashed, and then he glared at the little guy. Didn't you hear the princess's praise? Don't you put the ice lotus in front of the princess, let the princess have a good look. The smell of ice lotus is made on purpose. Naturally, its fragrance. Whether the bitch is weird or not depends on whether the fragrance can induce her poison. That small sea shook to shake, busily put the thing on the flower body side. The flower on the street sweeps the ice lotus on the table. The palm can't help but close, the eye bottom crosses a cold color. The complexion is invariable. Sure enough, she knew that Zhang Wan had come here on purpose. However, even something as valuable as Binglian is willing to be used for kung fu. His master is really willing. Just as he was thinking about it, Zhang Wan over there couldn't help but open his mouth. I heard that the princess was cold when she went out to look for the prince a few days ago, but it's strange. It's spring for a long time now, and it's not cold that day. It's really hateful to freeze the princess like this. In the tone, there is a kind of yin-yang strange tone. Mo Shanghua pretended to be angry and patted the table with hatred. What does the housekeeper mean? Can I pretend to be sick on purpose? With that, she pointed at Zhang Wan and said, if that's the case, I want to ask the housekeeper why my illness is always so good and bad. Is it because the housekeeper let out the wind under his hand, and let the villains come in, and mix the fake medicine into it to kill me? Oh my princess, what you can say is that I dare not even borrow the slave's courage. Zhang Wang knelt down busily, but there was no fear in his eyes. He only took his eyes to see the face of flowers on the street. The flower on the street seems to be in a hurry, and her breath has become much shorter. She stands up and seems to want to say something, but before she has finished a word, she covers her chest and sits back again, with a look of endless pain. Princess, what's the matter with you? Zhang Wang's heart suddenly quickened its beat and hastened forward. Qin Yang, with her eyes in front of Mo Shanghua, didn't hear Zhang Wan's words. She only exchanged a look with Mo Shanghua quietly. Then she began to worry. Princess, how did you make this heartache again? These days you are more and more frequent. It's okay. Just hold on for a while. On the street, Flower tightly grasps the chest the placket, a pair of extremely forbearance appearance. Zhang Wang saw that the stone in his heart fell to the ground, and his eyebrows and eyes were uncontrollably relaxed. The flower on the street has been sweeping Zhang's face with the remaining light. At the moment, I can't help but sneer. He is really a good servant of his master. In this case, I still don't forget to breathe a sigh of relief for his master. So thinking, Mo Shanghua deliberately pretended to forget Zhang Wang. After a while, he wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, I'm not well. Let's go down. After kneeling for a long time, Zhang Wan's knee was already extremely painful. Now hearing the words, he immediately knelt down and said, Yes, I'll go down now. Take care of myself, princess. Finished saying, then hurried down. Until Zhang Wang's figure disappeared, Mo Shanghua's hand covering her chest was taken away, and her face returned to the usual calm color, without any sign of pain. Qinya, go and tell me that I don't feel well. From today on, no one will come. Mo Shanghua stood up, gave an order to Qinya, and went down. These days, Qinya has been practicing lip language for a long time, and she can understand it without sign language. Now she accepts her previous look, and goes on to give orders. After returning to the house, Mo Shanghua didn't stay much. Instead, he took away what he needed from the herbs, and went to the north of the city through the secret passage. Yan Beiqing had been waiting outside the thatched cottage for a long time, and all the things she had ordered to be prepared before were neatly placed behind. In addition, there was a middle-aged man standing behind. It seemed that he was also a doctor. Mo Shanghua didn't ask much. She went directly to Yan Beiqing's back. She looked at the herbs and utensils and said, Yan Beiqing, I need you to isolate all the people who have been in contact with the patients before and send someone to observe them carefully. If anything is abnormal, please report it to me immediately. Yan Beiqing thought about it a little, and then he knew the key to it. He simply answered, Don't worry, I'll tell you to go down. Mo Shanghua nodded, and saw that there was no problem with those things. Then he turned around, took out a small porcelain vase and poured out a pill. It's a medicine to prevent infection, but its effect is negligible. You should be careful after taking it. As for herself, she had taken it when she came. Yan Beiqing took the medicine, but he didn't take it immediately. Instead, he raised his hand and pointed to the middle-aged man on his side. This is Dr. Liu. He has seen this disease before, but he can't do anything about it. I heard that you can cure it, so I came here specially to give you a hand. What do you think? That is to say, it means to watch by the way. Mo Shanghua smells speech. Mao Guang swept a circle on that middle-aged man's body. See his complexion ruddy. Mao Se is clear. Then also have no objection. Pour out a pill to pass in the past again. Since want to lay hands on, come on, this pill you and take. Lu Ling busy hand took over. Get together to the nose smell. This just swallowed down. Thank you. Mo Shanghua nodded a little, took out the washcloth soaked in medicine juice and dried in the air, and other things similar to surgical clothes, and gave them to the two people behind him. Take all these with you. If you don't, You won't be able to go in for a while. Yen North City Lu Ling don't do he think, take over to where well. Everything was almost ready. A few people entered the patient's room. Mo Shanghua looks at the middle-aged man lying on the earthen Kong in a coma. She raises her gloved hand to feel the man's pulse again. Then she takes a close look at the man's eyelids and orders Lu Ling to bring the silver needle. Lu Ling should be a favor-handed silver needle to come over. This is not like the usual injury poisoning. What we need is to find the source of the disease fundamentally, and find out the drugs and methods to inhibit the eradication. Mo Shanghua didn't know the source of the disease at the moment, so she used a silver needle to pick out a chickenpox on the man's arm, carefully observed the light yellow blood flowing out of it, and the man's reaction, in an attempt to find out the cause. But the medical equipment here is very different from that of modern times. It's not easy to find out the source of the disease. It's a big problem just to put away the liquid. It took me a long time to think about it before I came up with a solution. However, this preparation tool had to be added again. I had to put it down for the time being, and first went to observe the patient's other symptoms. It was only when I got the equipment the next day that I was able to continue. This time, the silver needle was empty in the middle. Mo Shanghua took the enamel bowl next to him. Then he pricked it with the hollow silver needle, and the chickenpox shriveled down, and the pale yellow liquid fell into the bowl. Lu Ling held her breath and stood beside her. Seeing this, she was surprised and surprised. A little excitement slowly overflowed from the bottom of her eyes. She secretly said that she didn't come in vain this time. It was a feast for the eyes. Mo Shanghua looked at the liquid in the bowl that was not even the size of his thumb, and continued to collect with the same complexion. Yan Beiqing stares at the silver needle in the hand of Mo Shanghua. He suddenly feels that he unconsciously coagulates his eyes to see Mo Shanghua. The mysterious and treacherous deep in his eyes is surging slowly, but it's so deep that people can't understand it at all. Mo Shanghua raised his hand to wipe sweat and glanced at him in a hurry. Then he took back his eyes unconsciously and cleaned up the residual liquid on the patient. Yanbei City to her eyes of the moment. Eyes color has no origin of deep, but did not move. Mo Shanghua is too busy treating patients to know. When the fluid is collected, it is the follow-up observation to find the source of the disease. Because of the lack of medical facilities, it is also day after day, and it takes a full 5 days to find the source of the disease. After finding out the source of the disease, naturally, there is no need for such procrastination. After thinking about it for a long time, I have an idea in my heart and go to have an operation. In the past few days, although the patient's condition has not worsened, the pox and rash on the surface of his skin have festered, and nearly a quarter of his body has rotted and stinky. The flowers on the street seem to be unheard of. The eyes are indifferent and serious. Holding a silver needle, they carefully prick the other acne rashes on the man one by one. Such a dense and terrible pox rash. Rao is a big man in Yanbeiqing. Looking at it, all feel a little disgusted, but the flowers on the street seem to be unconscious and continue to work. For 2 whole hours after cleaning up all the acne rashes, Mo Shanghua didn't plan to rest and whispered, "Bone scraper." Lu Ling heart surprised, but did not dare to ask a voice. Busy will scrape bone knife handed in the past. Mo Shanghua took the bone scraping knife and asked Lu Ling to help turn the patient over with no expression on her face. When the knife fell, it was already a small piece of carrion that had been scraped off. Lu Ling heart a shock, eyes firmly staring at the action of flowers on the street, surprised speechless. The girl's courage is too big, and the method of treatment is also novel. Such a dangerous and terrible method can be used. She is only a teenager now. How did she come up with such a method? He is so skillful in medicine that at his age, he has the idea of learning to be a teacher. Yan Beiqing stood and looked at him. Suddenly he was surprised, but he recovered as usual in a moment. Mo Shanghua didn't know what they were thinking, only scraping the rotten meat. As for the patient, she had already eaten her ma fei san, which was made according to the composition of the anesthetic. Therefore, she did not feel anything but closed her eyes and was in a coma. Scraping rotten meat is not a simple job. As time goes on, the physical strength of flowers on the street is exhausted. Thin sweat is covered on the forehead and nose, and the pain in the brain is more and more clear. However, she bit her lower lip hard, until there was a smell of sweetness between her lips and teeth, and then she felt that her mind had recovered a lot, and her hands kept moving. When it was dark, the rotten meat was finally scraped off. Mo Shanghua put the bone scraper aside, and used the ointment prepared in advance to bandage the patient. After taking the medicine, he walked out of the room. At that time, sweating, she looked back at Yinbei City behind her. She wanted to say something, but before she finished a word, she was soft and fell down heavily. Yen Beiqing see this, eyes suddenly aflash, busy more to her side. Will her into the arms, just lest she fell to the ground. The flower eyes on the road close, only feel poured into a very warm embrace, everything behind, then all don't know. Princess, Yen Beiqing called softly subconsciously, and then looked at Lu Ling in front of her. You see, what's the matter with her? Lu Ling raised her hand and touched the forehead of the flower on the street. She felt a piece of hot water and said, Lord, hurry up, put the concubine on the bed first. Yen Beiqing smell speech. Also don't think much, hurriedly will Mo Shanghua horizontal hold up, in a hurry to another clean room, will Mo Shanghua careful on the bamboo collapse. Lu Ling followed in the past, busy to the front, carefully for the flower pulse. Princess is also infected with this ramen. Lu Ling's face suddenly changed, subconsciously back a few steps. I think it is because the princess stay with this patient day by day, and the preventive medicine, the effect is too small. This is infectious. Yen Beiqing had just guessed in his heart. Now when he heard Lu Ling say so, he felt that his heart sank and he couldn't say a word for a while. The shock in Lu Ling's eyes didn't weaken at all. After a while, she continued. What's more surprising is that the princess should have been infected as early as 3 days ago, and her body still had a high fever. She could survive for 3 days without any mistakes. She would finish the treatment. This kind of perseverance is really terrible. Yen North City heart is also drama shock. Can't help but turn eyes looking at lying in the collapse of the Mo Shanghua. See her in a coma, eyebrows are deep frown, in the heart uncontrollably moved. Even he himself did not notice half a minute. Yen North City let Lu Ling and carefully to Mo Shanghua see. Make sure that she is just a little bit of acne rash on the body. Not vine extremely whole body, also only rot, this just relaxed. Don't worry, my lord. Although ramen is terrible, fortunately, the princess developed a drug to inhibit ramen before she was in a coma. As long as she takes medicine on time and has a good self-cultivation for a few days, she will be safe and sound. Lu Ling raised her hand to wipe the sweat on her forehead and let out a long breath. Yenbei City pupil between a touch of black, this just shoe of a scattered, but still can't help but ask that her body acne rash how to deal with. There's very little acne on the princess. There's no need to treat it. When she recovers, it will go away automatically. After a pause, he seemed to think of something. He added, but the prince must remember that he must not let the acne break. Otherwise, it will only aggravate the disease. At that time, he will have to be treated like the one inside. I really can't do that kind of operation without the medical skill of the princess. Yen Beiqing's heart sank, but his curved jaw just slightly touched, took off his shirt and put it on the flower on the street. Then he carefully picked her up and went back to the mansion. He will slow down the action, the flowers on the street back to her bedroom bed, pull over the quilt cover, then hurried out. The door just opened. It happened that Qinya was on duty. She woke up immediately. She saw Yen Beiqing and curtsied. I've seen you. Yen Beiqing knew Qinya. When he saw her coming, he thought about it and gave her the prescription directly. He said, go and suffer according to the prescription. If someone asks, it's the princess who has a high fever. By the way, he'll go to have a basin of hot water and bring 2 handkerchiefs. These are all explained by Lu Ling. He has a good memory and can remember them clearly. Qinya was a little confused when she heard this. She took the prescription and hesitated as if she wanted to ask something. How can you dally with that woman? I'll tell you that she's okay. Go quickly. As if seeing Qinya's worry, Yen Beiqing's face sank directly, showing the usual wanton appearance of a dandy. Qinya shrinks her neck, and then goes down in a hurry. After a while, she brings hot water and towel. As soon as he put down his things, Yan Beiqing drove the people down, soaked the towel in hot water, wrung it dry and picked it up. Raman's fever can't be done in the traditional way. He can only take medicine at ease. What he can do now is to wipe her sweat. Yan Beiqing lowered his eyebrows, gently wiped the slightly greasy face of Mo Shanghua, then changed the kerchief again, rolled up her sleeves and wiped her delicate white lotus arm. Most of the pox rashes on the flowers grow on the lotus root arm. Therefore, when Yan Beiqing wipes them, his movements are extremely light, and the bottom of his eyes is soft and gentle, but he doesn't feel it. When it comes to scrubbing, Qinya has already brought the medicine bowl. Yan Beiqing asks her to put it down and go out. Until he heard the sound of the door closing, he held the flower in his arms with one hand. With the empty hand, he held the spoon, filled a spoonful of medicine, sent the spoon to her lips and poured it down. After a whole night's infusion, Yanbei City put the flowers back again. At this time it was getting late, so he simply moved the flowers to the bed. He was lying in the outside position with his clothes closed. He was not afraid to infect himself at all. In fact, he is not afraid, but he knows that even if he is infected with it, there is a law that can be cured now. Mo Shanghua wakes up the next day. At that time, Yan Beiqing is bringing the decoction. She was a little surprised in her eyes. She wanted to stand up on the bed, but when she moved, she found that she was weak and could not move at all. Yan Beiqing put down the decoction, and his tone returned to the usual dandy. Don't move if you're not well. If you get sick, I don't want to serve you anymore. You took care of me? The color of surprise in Mo Shanghua's eyes is even worse. He looks at him incredulously. Yan Beiqing snorted from his nose, which was a response. The flower on the street was silent for a moment, and just now she exclaimed, "You can even take care of people. For the sake of your serious illness, I don't care about you." Speaking, Yan North City will side of the medicine bowl end up, raised to the lips of Mo Shanghua. Take medicine. The flowers on the street wanted to try to move by themselves, but they were still weak, so they could only put their lips together. Yan Beiqing tilted the medicine bowl slightly, so that she could drink it slowly. Mo Shanghua drinks medicine, Mao Guang floats at will. Because he wanted to hold up the medicine bowl, Yan Beiqing's broad sleeves naturally slipped down, revealing his white arms. At the elbow where the sleeves overlap, half of the scar is clearly reflected in the eyes of the flowers on the street. Her eyes suddenly coagulate, and the scar on the arm of the cloak man in her mind instantly gushes out and overlaps with it. Are these two really thinking of this? A strange color flashed away in her slightly ill eyes, and soon recovered to indifference. Calm, drink a bowl of medicine. Mo Shanghua lie back because the onset of efficacy, and is in a daze of sleep in the past. For several days in a row, Raman, who was suffering from Mo Shanghua, gradually recovered. Although he was still weak, he could at least take medicine by himself. Looking at Yan Beiqing's handkerchief, Mo Shanghua took it and wiped his arm. Yan Beiqing, on the other hand, sat bored. Mo Shanghua sweeps Yan Beiqing's side with the remaining light. He can't help thinking of the scar he saw a few days ago. With only one scar, she could be sure that Yan Beiqing was the cloaker. On the surface, a dandy is willful, but on the surface, he is a mysterious and crafty master. His ability to bear for so long shows his strength now. It seems that she is right to cooperate with Yan Beiqing. Just after thinking about it, Qinya hurried in from the outside and said, "To the prince and princess, the emperor sent someone to send a wedding gift. Now the people from the emperor have arrived at the gate of the city." The flower on the road originally wanted to pass the handkerchief to the past hand shoe of Emil. In the eye peep out a bit surprised color. Yan North City is also the same, but also just surprised for a while. Then again cry face. Father Emperor so toss do what? Make this king also want to go out to meet. Mo Shanghua didn't like to deal with this, so she pulled the quilt on her body and said in a soft voice, "Lord, I'm not feeling well. I'm going to meet you. It's hard for you to go by yourself." Yan Beiqing reluctantly stood up and looked at her with resentment. "You are a woman who clearly wants to take the opportunity to be lazy. I will go by myself." After that, he went out with a sad face. Mo Shanghua saw that he had gone far away, so he sat up again with a solemn face. Qinya, do you have any information about the person who came to send gifts? Yan Moli and Yan Sinshuan are also riding on high horses, side by side in the front of the team, and behind them is a convoy of 100 people. In the meantime, there was a luxurious carriage, surrounded by dozens of uniformed servant girls. Yan Li's ink face is handsome, and he sits upright on the horse. Looking at the driving of Yan Beiqing not far away, his eyes are gradually filled with some deep feeling. It's been a long time since the beginning of spring, but Yan Sinshuan is still wearing a broad and slightly thick cloak. On his handsome face, he has a faint smile, and his temperament is as gentle and elegant as Diablo. Brother Sanhuang, it should be Brother Jiahuang's car ahead. Yan Sinshuan also saw the car not far away. Can't help turning his eyes to Yan Limo whispered. It should be. Yan Liamo light point jaw, right hand Lorraine, left hand raised in the hair topside. I'll stop, wait here. As soon as the words came to an end, all the hundreds of people stopped neatly, and no one dared to walk. The carriage also stopped, and a pair of green and delicate white hands came out of the small window. The delicate hand gently lifted the corner of the brocade curtain of the small window to reveal a beautiful cheek. Lu Qianqian poked his cheek out of the window, looked around and said in a soft voice, "But I'm in Yuzhou?" Close-body servant girl fine sun busy gather together to come over. Lo should descend. Is. Lu Qianqian eyes suddenly across a dark color, eyes color slightly deep. Lu Qianqian no, it should be said to be fake gold, or Lu Fu's daughter. If you knew I was here, what would it be like? Princess, my brother has gone to inquire about it. It is estimated that we will have news later. Qinya came forward and answered truthfully. Qinya just finished speaking, there was a rush of footsteps at the door. After a while, she came running panting. He took a big breath, slowed down for a while, and then used sign language to describe what he saw. They are the 3rd prince and the 13th prince and Lu Qianqian, the daughter of the prime minister's house. Now they have entered the house, and the Lord has arranged their residence for them. Mo Shanghua looks at Qin Lin's mouth and whispers what he has described. It's okay for others, but when it comes to Lu Qianqian, her indifferent and calm water eyes are suddenly infected with a bit of ice, like the cold winter moon, cold Qinren bone marrow. Qinya and Qin Lin look at each other. All of them are aware that the flowers on the street are not right. Princess, what's the matter with you? After hesitating for a moment, Qinya comes forward worried. Nothing. The flower on the street just realized her gaffe, and the look in her eyes was clean. Qinya is still worried. Just as she wants to ask more questions, another servant girl comes in. Tell the princess that Miss Qian Jinliu of the Prime Minister's residence asked to see her sister. Come in, please. The cold color of the flower eyes on the street flickered slightly, and the face color remained unchanged. Since sister came to visit, how could she not be seen as a sister? When the maid faded, Lu Qian came in. Today's Lu Qianqian wears a wide-sleeve rue skirt with flowing clouds in Sichuan brocade. Her 3,000 black hair has become the most popular bun in the imperial capital. She wears a ring on her hair to match her beautiful cheeks. In addition to her weak posture, Lu Fufing adds a sense of pity. As soon as she saw the flowers on the street lying on the collapse, she hurriedly came over and said with worry, I haven't seen her for several months. How can my sister be so thin? It's really painful to see her for a long time. Every move, as if they had been so sisterly in the past. What a big white lotus. Mo Shanghua laughed in her heart, but she didn't show anything on her face. She only glanced at her calmly. My body has always been so thin. I'm afraid my sister hasn't seen her for a long time. I even forgot about it. To tell the truth, they have only seen each other since today. How can Lu Qianqian know her physical condition? She can understand the irony that others can't understand. Sure enough, Lu Qianqian's face was stiff for a moment, and she just laughed. My younger sister is so tired these days that I just want to see my elder sister quickly, which I forget for a moment. My elder sister must not blame. My sister's heart is the most kind. How can I care about it with you? The flower on the street is pale, and a smile is stirred up on her lips, which is full of an understanding elder sister style. I knew that my sister was the best. Lu Qianqian also raised her lips and gave a soft smile. Pause. She seems to see what? Eyebrows are gently frown into a ball. Sister sitting like this, the body must be uncomfortable, not like a few soft pillow behind it. Emo Shanghua glanced at her back. Now she is really sitting upright on the bed. There is nothing to lean on behind her. It's better to put some soft pillows. Just this word say from Lu Qian's mouth, afraid not so simple. Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't move, ready to hold still. Lu Qianqian finished, also did not see the look of flowers on the street, then looked sideways at the side of Qing. The fine son immediately understands idea to come over, busy smile to come forward. The princess, the maidservant comes to wait on you. Say, also don't wait for the flower to reply. Hurriedly come forward, want to take the soft pillow of her body side. Want to take this soft pillow. It is inevitable to raise the arm, around the body of Emo Shanghua can, therefore, her every move will be clearly reflected in the Emo Shanghua's eyes. She did not feel. In the moment when Qing'er raises her hand, the flower seems to shake in front of her eyes. She stares at her eyes and looks carefully. Then she sees a silver needle between her slender fingers. Such a tiny thing. If you take advantage of the soft pillow, there will be no difference on the outside of the soft pillow. But as soon as you lie on it, you will surely plunge the silver needle into the flesh. Between the thunder and lightning, the flowers on the street have already thought about it. Their hearts sank. They are busy raising their hands unintentionally, trying to caress the broken hair between the temples. This seems to be a casual hand, but it contains a bit of strength in it. Qing'er didn't expect that flowers on the street would do this. Her arm was immediately blocked back, and the silver needle between her fingers fell on the brocade quilt. Emo Shanghua's face is full of doubts. What is it? Qing'er was flustered in her heart. She put the silver needle in her palm and shook her head in a hurry. It's nothing. The princess is wrong. Lu Qianqian clings to the soft gauze handkerchief lightly. She can't help tightening it. The handkerchief is wrinkled in the palm, but she doesn't feel it. The light of her eyes falls on Qing'er's hand holding the silver needle. Qing'er has been waiting on the side of the flower on the street. As soon as Qing'er put away the silver needle, she sees things clearly. Suddenly she is startled. Without thinking about it, she kicks Qing'er out. Bold slave, what you are holding is a silver needle that can kill people, and you dare to lie. Qing'er was suddenly kicked, and then stepped back several steps, and then sat on the ground. Because of the pain and tension, her palms closed up subconsciously. It is such a close, tightly held in the palm of the silver needle instantaneous pierced the flesh, deeply into the palm of the tender meat. Ah, with a scream, Qing'er releases her hand. She raises her hand and looks at her palm. She looks at the silver needle and the tiny blood beads in her palm. She is shocked and frightened. Lu Qianqian see this, and the heart suddenly born bad premonition, is about to open mouth to say something. Fine Sun then suddenly rolled to her feet, tightly pulling her skirt. Miss, help me, I beg you. Give me the antidote. I don't want to die. She knew what had been smeared on the silver needle. Her strong desire for survival manipulated her brain and thought. She was so frightened that she did such a ridiculous thing. Lu Qianqian's face changed slightly, trying to maintain her face, and put on a look of shock. Qing'er, how can you have a bad heart for your sister? That's my sister. How can you be so cruel? Between the words, but deliberately avoided the antidote, only to make a look of heartache. Seeing this, Qing'er's eyes flashed a bit of hate, and she was about to drag Lu Qianqian into the water. There was a burst of colic in her abdomen, and black blood flowed from her mouth and nose. The whole person was in agony. As she sobbed bitterly, she grabbed Lu Qianqian's skirt and murmured, Miss, help, maidservant, maidservant. A word hasn't finished, the hand falls down, but the eyes are not willing to stare big, plus the black blood of the nose and mouth. The whole person is terrible. Lu Qian's face was full of panic, and stepped back a few steps. As soon as her legs were soft, she fell on the bed. Tears ran down her white cheeks and her posture became thinner and weaker. The bottom of the flower's eyes suddenly crossed a cold color, and his face was calm. Qin Lin, send someone to ask Lu Imperial Doctor to come here as soon as possible. Qin Lin answered and hurriedly went down. After a while, Lu Zheng came with a medicine box on his back. Mo Shanghua ignored Lu Qianqian and directly raised her finger to Qing'er, who was lying on the ground. Please have a look at the Imperial Dr. Lu. Yes. Lu Zheng nodded, then carried the medicine box to go over, held the cheek of Fine Sun to see, turned to break off her palm again, examined carefully. Before finding out the result, Yan Beiqing, Yan Moli and others came in a hurry. At that time Lu Qianqian was gently holding a soft gauze handkerchief, crying beside the pear blossom with rain. Because of the reason of being frightened, his shoulder trembled from time to time, as if he would faint at any time, which made people feel pity. Seeing someone coming in, her tearful eyes fell on Yan Moli, but it was just a glance, so she quickly drew back her eyes and bowed them to see him. Miss Lu is frightened. Don't be polite. Yan Moli Mao lightly swept her one eye, politely and distantly casually returned a sentence. Only that Mao bottom, but is to delimit a few minutes obscure dark black color. Yes. Lu Qianqian nodded and stood on one side. Yan Xinxuan saw the flower on the street for a moment. Then he felt his heart shrink fiercely, and his fingertips moved a little, but after all, he slowly made a fist without any action. As soon as Yan Beiqing entered the room, his eyes were fixed on the painted flower. Seeing that she seemed to want to get up, he pressed her shoulder lightly and said angrily, "Princess, don't move if you are not well. This matter will be dealt with by the king." Although his face was so angry, his eyes were just deep and clear. Mo Shanghua glanced at the people standing behind him with the remaining light. When the light fell to Yan Xinxuan, he jumped for a while without any reason in his heart. He quickly took back his eyes and said in a light voice, "Good." Yan Beiqing turned his head and looked at Lu Zheng. "What's the matter?" Lu Zheng put away the medicine box, and then he got up to reply. "If you go back to the Lord, this man's poison is a kind of poison called poison research. This poison can kill you in an instant just because it's on this little silver needle." After a pause, he reflected in his eyes for a moment and said, "It's just that this poison research is very precious. It's very rare in ordinary days. It's not what an ordinary servant girl can get." What he said just stopped at the end, but the deep meaning he left behind was thought-provoking. Everyone's eyes can't help falling on Lu Qianqian's body, with some doubt in his eyes, looking at him. Why do you look at me like this?" Lu Qianqian's face was slightly white, and her tears, which had just stopped, suddenly fell like broken pearls. After a pause, she raised her hand to wipe her tears and sobbed. "Qing'er has been with me all these years. She is loyal and devoted. Now that she's dead, I'm very sad. I dare not say, but she is just an ordinary servant girl, and she has such a good temper. How can she do such a thing? There must be some misunderstanding." Yan Moli's eyes exuded dark color gradually. After a long time, he went to the side of Yanbei City and said, "Since the princess is nothing, it's just an ordinary servant girl who died. According to our hall, we really don't have to go on the investigation. I heard that the princess is still ill, so we don't want to disturb her. How can this work?" Yan Beiqing patted the table beside the bed heavily, and his face was full of anger. In the palace of the king, the princess was openly calculated and wanted to harm the princess. It's really good to be the king. In any case, the king will never tolerate others to attack his wife. Where is the housekeeper? Zhang Wanxian seldom saw Yan Beiqing so angry that he was startled, but he quickly came up. "The slave is here, please tell me. I will see the result tonight. You should check it immediately." After a pause, he turned his eyes and looked at the flowers in the street. His voice softened for a long time. "Princess, you'd better have a rest. I will give you justice." Between the words, there is a kind of softness that has never been before. Mo Shanghua naturally knew who he was playing for, so she also cooperated with him and said, "Lao Wangyi is worried." Lu Qianqian, by wiping tears, quietly swept the eyes of the two people. The corner of the lip is not a trace of a smile, but a moment, and then smooth again. Yan Beiqing had already handed over the matter to the housekeeper. Naturally, there was no one else to intervene in the next thing. All the people in the room were scattered in an instant. And the final result of this matter, Zhang Wan also just pretends to wantonly investigate and deal with it, but in the end, it is a hasty end. He only says that Qing'er is dead, and there is no evidence to prove her death, so he can only say that Qing'er has stolen poison research and wants to poison the flowers on the street. Yanbei City did not do more investigation. After the incident, rumors came from somewhere in Yuzhou City, digging up the rumors that Mo Shanghua was cruel to wipe his mother, and that he was given a marriage by the emperor and Hao Tang. In this way, Lu Qianqian, who is gentle and amiable from the mother's family of Mo Shanghua, naturally becomes a positive example, forming a positive and negative contrast with Mo Shanghua. In addition, a few days ago, it was reported that Mo Shanghua was a shrew, vicious and jealous, which was in line with those rumors. The authenticity of Mo Shanghua increased several times in an instant, which made Yuzhou people more and more believe it and talk about it with relish. Mo Shanghua was sitting on the soft floor with a thick cashmere blanket on her leg. She was reading the medical books while listening to the rumors of Qing'er. From the beginning to the end, she didn't even frown. Qing'er suddenly had a feeling of playing the lute to the ox, and she could not help drooping her head and sighing. I said, Princess, even if you are not angry, you should express your opinion. This is silent, and it is too wronged. What can I say? The flower on the street twists the page of the book, and turns it back one page without moving her eyebrows and eyes. It's hard to stop people's mouths. Since they can't stop them, why bother to think about them? It's better to read a book. Qing'er wanted to retort, but when she thought about it carefully, she found that what Mo Shanghua said didn't seem to be wrong, so she had to sigh. These people are really annoying. Mo flower Mao light suddenly get a meal, lip angle micro can't check of light, call up a touch of light ridicule. It's not only those people who are annoying, but also the people behind it. She just started to think about it, and suddenly there was a slight step at the door. Then he saw Qinlin walk in first. He saluted the flowers on the street. Before he could say anything, a man came out from behind him. The man's eyebrows are delicate, his facial features are handsome and soft, and his white robe is added to his body, which makes him feel like a god's residence. The 13th Prince Yan Xinchuan. His name suddenly appeared in the brain of Mo Shanghua. Somehow, her heart was just like yesterday's, beating slightly, and the inexplicable sense of familiarity gradually spread. Yan Xinchuan's eyes also fell on the flowers in the street. His eyes were warm, but at the moment, they were filled with a layer of bitterness. His eyes are not controlled in the street, a little bit pale cheek-inch swept. The look in the eyes is like something to suppress the general, complex people cannot really see. Mo Shanghua couldn't understand the look in his eyes. He pursed his lips and looked at him for a while, then waved his hand to let Qinlin go first. Yan Xinchuan was silent for a long time. Then he pulled his lips and said, I heard that you are always in bad health these days. Now you are still recovering. It's just that my imperial doctor also brought it here. Let him show you. He asked the emperor to follow him this time. Because he was weak since he was a child, the imperial doctor was always with him. He didn't use it all the way. He didn't expect that it would be useful now. But this use really let him not know cry or laugh. Mo Shanghua put down the medical books for the time being, and swept Yan Xinchuan's eyes quietly. In addition to a touch of incomprehensible emotion, there was only a touch of warmth and worry. The flower on the street can feel that the worry is really sincere. Her delicate jaw is slightly touched. Yan Xinchuan has been staring at Mo Shanghua. Seeing that she hasn't refused at the moment, he is a little relieved. He glances at the imperial doctor behind him. The doctor came over with the medicine box on his back, opened it, and took out the wrist pillow and gauze towel. Mo Shanghua naturally put the white wrist on the wrist pillow. The royal doctor put the gauze towel between her wrists and pressed her 3 fingers between her wrists to feel her pulse. The flower on the street droops her eyes and looks at the imperial doctor to feel her pulse. Where Yu Guang reaches, she sees that Yan Xinchuan doesn't look back at her. Her worries at the bottom of her eyes are inadvertently released, and her right hand is slightly caged into a fist. It's an act of extreme worry. Mo Shanghua's heart was not deep, but it was relaxed after a while. This was the first person who cared about her so much since she came to this world. She could not help but feel a little good for him. The imperial doctor closed his eyes for a moment, then took back his hand, walked to Yen Xinchuan, arched his hand to recover his life. Back to your highness, the princess's disease has been cured, but now she is still some loss, so we can take good care of her in the future. Yen Xinchuan clenched his fist tightly, and his worry in his eyes spilled out carelessly. You just came to Yuzhou for a few days, how can you be like this, right? Is Brother Jiuhuang treating you harshly? Is life in Yuzhou bad? Is it just for a moment? There were thousands of worried words in his heart. He wanted to ask them all, but the words were in his throat. And then he suddenly remembered that he was no longer qualified to love her. As if to see what he wanted to ask, Mo Shanghua gently pulled the corner of his lips, a faint smile. Your Highness, don't worry. I just don't adapt. After this period of time will be good. Yen Xinchuan thin lips micro-movement. Words have rolled to the throat, but he was swallowing, silent for a long time square way. I'll leave in a few days. You now body so. I'm not at ease. I brought some tonic. You stay good tonic body. With that, he was afraid that the flowers in the street would refuse, so he turned his head and told him to go on. After a while, he came up with a brocade box and another one. The one behind Yen Xinchuan is holding a list and presenting it to Mo Shanghua. Mo Shanghua took it up, opened it and swept his eyes at will. His eyes could not help but be surprised. Then it was wisps of warmth. All these nourishing things are precious, especially good for a woman's body. It can be seen that Yen Xinchuan is very concerned about her. No, I should say I care about the original owner. Thank you very much. Mo Shanghua raised a smile. She thought, this smile is probably her these days more real. Between you and me, why do we have to do this? I just want you to be well. Yen Xinchuan took a warm smile from the corner of his lips, but there was some slight bitterness hidden in the smile. Yen Beiqing came in without being told. He wanted to see the flowers in the street, but he didn't think about it. Before he stepped in, he heard these words. I don't know why, but he was infected with a feeling of indescribability, which led him to speed up his pace uncontrollably. When he came to the door, he could see the soberness of the room clearly. Suddenly, a layer of ink was on the bottom of his eyes. The deep and unpredictable ups and downs of his eyes took a long time to recover. Love Imperial Concubine, your body just right how to get up, in case of catching cold can what to do. As soon as Yen Beiqing came into the room, he was full of worries. While speaking, he strode to her, took off his coat and put it on her. You are also so thin. You can't forget that I said that if you are ill, you will ignore you. Mo Shanghua only thought he was acting again, raised his hand and gathered up the outer garment he had just put on. I know that I can lie all day, but my head hurts when I lie down. If I can't get up, I'm afraid I'm going to become a useless person. Yen Beiqing sat down beside her and gently pinched her nose. I know, but how can you wear thicker, or do you want to make me feel sad? Well, never had a man with Mo Shanghua had such a close touch. Let her for a time was stunned there, water eyes caught off guard. Then on his eyes. When he was King Yu, the color of his eyes was as clear as water, but at the moment, she saw the color of doting in his eyes. The air seems to have stagnated at this moment. The flowers on the street only feel empty in their ears. Only the sudden acceleration of the heartbeat is so clear. Yen Xinchuan wanted to stay here for a while, so that he could see more. But he didn't expect that the sudden arrival of Yen Beiqing broke the situation. The two of them were sentimental, but he was like an outsider. The heart seems to be tightly grasped by people. Besides the pain, it is more of a sense of suffocation like dying. He can hardly breathe, and his eyes are filled with deep bitterness and pain. For a long time, the flower on the street seemed to notice something. He turned his face to avoid his sight. The Lord is joking. How dare I do that? Yu Guang glances at Yen Xinchuan, who has been standing on one side for a long time. Mo Shanghua suddenly remembers that he is still there. Somehow he just pulls his head and blurts out a word. Your Highness is still standing. Qinya, go to show your Highness a seat. As soon as the words were heard, Qinya moved the chair quickly. Yen Xinchuan didn't sit down. He wanted to say something, but Yen Beiqing turned his head at this time, and their eyes immediately met in the air. Yen Xinchuan saw Yanbei City, but with a bit of childish displeasure. Yanbei City is clear, in his eyes to understand the depressed bitterness, his eyes deeper. Two people don't speak. Yan Xinchuan also didn't sit down. Mo Shanghua this just realized that the atmosphere seems to be some wrong. Mao Guang from two people on the circulation for a while. In the heart secretly scold oneself, how can be so stupid? I'm not feeling well. I'm going to have a rest. Lord, Your Highness, please go back first. Mo Shanghua gently stroked her forehead, and her voice was a little hoarse. After that, Qinya quickly came over, carefully helped her down, and they returned to the master bedroom. After all the masters left, Yan Beiqing and Yan Xinchuan were not in the mood to stay, so they went back to their homes. Yan Beiqing has been busy entertaining Yan Moli and others these days, but she has to go with her because of her illness. It's a rare leisure these days. It's just the right day in spring. She's moldy in her room, so she asked Qinya to get some flowers and drive them to Qinlin. Qinya went not far away to guard them. She found a place in the dockyard by herself, and prepared to cultivate them by herself. Although Yuzhou is in a poor state, it has to be said that Yuang's residence is not affected at all. It's luxurious in terms of food and clothing. Mo Shanghua tied a knot on her broad sleeve at will. When she reached the bend of her arm, she squatted down, holding a small hoe the size of her small arm, and plowing the soil on the ground. I only planed for a while, but I felt that there was something hard under the hoe, and I couldn't dig any more. The flower eyebrows on the street frowned lightly. After thinking about it, he threw the small hoe in his hand to one side, and gently pushed away the soil with his hand. A toss down, Mo Shanghua actually dug out a stone about the size of palm from the soil. The whole body of the stone is dark, and its shape is strange, with edges and corners everywhere. In particular, there are more than 3 fingers protruding from the outside, and the other end is extremely sharp. If anyone doesn't see it, he will knock his head in blood. It's just, what kind of stone is this? The flower heart on the street is curious, so he simply abandons his work, and holds the stone to observe carefully. Linger hides in some flowers and quietly observes every move of the flowers on the street. She holds a silver needle tightly in her palm. When she looks carefully, it is the same as what Qinger took that day. Linger observed for a long time, and saw that Mo Shanghua held such a sharp stone in his hand. His eyes wandered around, and he took a deep breath. Then he stepped on the steps and slowly approached Mo Shanghua's back. Although Mo Shanghua has been looking at the stone in her hand, the deliberate light footstep still makes her water eyes suddenly coagulate. Qinya and Qinlin are 2 brothers and sisters who can get close to her on weekdays. Qinya's pace is light and Qinlin's pace is steady. At this time, the sound of footsteps behind her slows down deliberately. It must be a plot. Mo Shanghua's heart was full, but his body didn't move. He still kept his posture. Linger soon walked to the back of Mo Shanghua, but didn't dare to make any action, standing behind the flower for a long time, until she didn't feel it. Her eyes were filled with a layer of fierce color. Raising her hand would push the flower to the ground. Unexpectedly, as soon as she had an action in her hand, Mo Shanghua suddenly turned to sit on the ground to avoid her attack. She threw herself in the air, and almost fell over. At this time, Mo Shanghua suddenly feels surprised. She quickly raises her feet and kicks Linger's falling body. Linger is kicked in the middle of her abdomen, screams and flies backwards for several meters. Although Qinlin and Qinya are not close to them, they have been waiting not far away. With such a big noise, they rush to come. Princess, what happened? Qinya glanced at Linger on the ground, and went to the front of Mo Shanghua. She asked with concern. Qinlin was also worried. You 2 take Linger for me first. The flower on the street is white, and the thin finger on Linger's body is awe-inspiring, full of cold color. Qinya and Qinlin didn't know why, but they still came up. The obedient ones came forward and pulled Linger up from the ground. They pressed her arm and cut her hands behind her. The eyes of the flowers on the street are like knives, and their voice is like frost. It's cold to the bone. Linger, if I remember correctly, you are the servant girl sweeping below. You can't get close to me. Recently, when I was holding this sharp object, you sneaked around behind me and tried to push me. What do you mean? Linger's pretty cheek turned white with a brush, and her body trembled slightly. I'm just passing by. I just stumbled and bumped into the princess. As for the others, I'm afraid to ask the princess for a lesson. You'll make excuses. The flowers on the street and the vermilion lips gently pull up a light color of mockery. But the coldness in the voice has not abated at all. Chinya, search your body. Linger's face was in a panic. She wanted to struggle while Chinya let go. But unexpectedly, Qin Yasong handed her over to Qin Lin. She was still firmly controlled and could not move for half a minute. Chinya searched her whole body carefully. When she touched her waist, she felt something was wrong. After a careful look, it turned out to be a silver needle. She took it out and gave it to Emo Shanghua. Emo Shanghua took the silver needle and put it in the palm to check carefully. Just one eye, then recognized the silver needle and clear sun that day used from a place. Lu Qianqian is really a thief. It seems that she needs to alert these people so that they don't think she is weak in her illness. I'm lazy to ask how you got the silver needle, but you come here with such a lethal weapon and try to kill me. I'm determined not to forgive you. Come and beat Linger 100 times. Emo Shanghua put the silver needle away and said with no expression. Chinya, you invited the ladies of all the hospitals to come here. And Miss Lu also invited them to come here, saying that there was a good play for them to see. 100 boards, this is to her life. Linger's face was as gray as death. As soon as he was soft, he sat down on the ground. Chinya and Qin Lin didn't have any hesitation. Not long after Chinya's return, the concubines of Ji also came one after another, but when all the people were together, there was no sign of Nan He. As if seeing the misgivings of Emo Shanghua, Chinya came over and said in a low voice, Princess, Madame Nan said she was unwell. The imperial doctor told her not to go out, so she didn't come. Emo Shanghua nodded, and then specially ordered people to move tables and chairs, so that Lu Qianqian and his concubines sat down. As for that Linger, he was kept in the room surrounded by tables and chairs, and was pressed to the ground by the little guy, beating with the board again and again. Emo Shanghua didn't let her mouth be blocked, so the shrill scream came into everyone's ears clearly. Everyone was shocked, and they were all quiet, and none of them dared to speak. Only Lu Qian looked at Linger, who was so miserable that he couldn't bear to see it, but he was already angry in his heart. This person was bought by her in the past. Now she's doing this on purpose. It's just to show her. It's more irritating than slapping her in public. Guess what the servant girl did? Emo Shanghua's eyes swept around the crowd, and the corners of his lips were slightly curved with a smile. Since no one said that, let me tell you. Today, while I might as well, the maid wanted to push me down on the sharp stone and kill me. What's more, I found this thing on her. I can see that she had premeditated. Originally, I didn't want to, but if we don't punish her severely, and if we lead other slaves to follow suit in the future, I'm afraid you will be restless in the hospital. I'll punish her severely. Please come and have a look. As she spoke, she took out the silver needle from Linger and shook it between her fingers. Although the silver needle is small, the sun is just right now. Just a moment's random flash, there are several cold waves. I feel flustered when I just look at it. Don't look down on the silver needle. Although it looks unimportant, it is contaminated with highly toxic substances. Seems to be afraid that people do not believe in general. Emo Shanghua added with a smile, but the bottom of the eyes is a frozen color. As soon as the voice fell, Lu Qianqian stood up. Don't look down on the silver needle. Although it looks unimportant, it is contaminated with highly toxic substances. Seems to be afraid that people do not believe in general, Emo Shanghua added with a smile, but the bottom of the eyes is a frozen color. As soon as the voice fell, Lu Qianqian stood up and looked at Linger, who had been beaten, and didn't even have the strength to shout. Her voice was soft as usual. Elder sister, you look at the maid, but now you can't even shout out. In my opinion, the punishment is enough. Why don't you forgive her for a while? Her eyes were still shimmering, full of the color of plainness and supplication, as well as a little unbearable pity. If the man looked at it, I'm afraid it's unnecessary for her to say. If he only looked at her eyes, his heart would be softened. Emo Shanghua is indifferent, cold eyes staring at Lu Qianqian for a while. Fong said, Sister, don't you forget what I just said? Since my sister forgot, I would say again that this man intended to harm me. How dare a little slave to murder her master? If she really wants to be punished, there is no doubt that she is guilty of death. Now I'm just being punished lightly. What do you want from my sister? Indeed, the life of a slave is not worth money, not to mention a slave who is trying to murder his master. No one will interfere with him anywhere else, even if he dies. But it's a human life after all. Lu Qianqian nibbled her lower lip and turned her eyes to look at Linger again. The color of her eyes was even more unbearable. In the end, she didn't really hurt your sister, so why bother you, sister? If it's spread out, it's not good for your sister's reputation. When the voice fell, she had already calculated in her heart. Today's affair can let a person spread the sharp contrast between her two people, such as a vicious, a kind. In this way, Mo Shanghua's reputation can be thoroughly implemented and can no longer be turned over. Going out? The flower on the street asked in a slightly rising tone. All of you here are from the palace. I'm the princess of the palace. How can anyone chew my tongue? Sister, do you think so? The implication is a disguised threat. All the people felt that their backs were cold, and they all hung their heads for fear that they would be spotted again by strangers. Mo Shanghua didn't have the intention to stop. She was indifferent just now, but at this time, she had a color of unclear meaning. It's said that everyone in the family of the emperor's power is smart, and one step wrong will lead to death. My sister was born in the prime minister's house, but now even a slave who made a mistake asks for love. It's really hard to be so kind-hearted. It's time. The implication is that Lu Qian is not sensible and pretends to be kind. All of a sudden, people around Lu Qian's eyes have become subtle. Feeling the sight of people around, Lu Qianqian's long and sharp nails pierced deeply into the palm of his hand. He couldn't attack, so he could only bear it. After a while, she tried to squeeze out a gentle smile as usual. I suddenly remembered that there are still some things in the hospital that have not been taken care of. I left first. Don't blame my sister. Sister, walk slowly. Flowers on the street should be a sentence. Before Lu Qian was about to step out of the door, Yu said, since my sister has just pleaded with you, please forgive this girl first. Qin Lin, shut her up in the Chaifeng. By the way, since my sister likes this girl, I'll send it to my sister when I've recovered my injury. The implication is that such an unfaithful slave, since you have asked for love, you can take it to yourself. Lu Qianqian's steps are tiny and irretrievable. The anger in his eyes almost overflows uncontrollably, but when he is about to reveal it, he pinches his own mouth. And then just do not feel like stepping away. The flowers on the street bring Lu Qianqian's strange income to the bottom of the eyes. And the bottom of the eyes is crossed by a cold on. After a while he took back his eyes and stood up. If you spare her, there will be nothing to see. I just hope that all of you will restrain the servants in your courtyard. Don't do this in the princess's courtyard. Let's go. A admonition warning down. The House Ji concubines suddenly become trembling. Busy whispered answer, dare not. The next day, as soon as the flowers on the street were ready to get up, a servant girl rushed in. The princess is not well. Linger is dead. Mo Shanghua holds the hand of Chopsticks a tight. Shu of Ray's head. How to return a responsibility, still have is when matter. The servant girl was frightened by the look of the flower on the street. She said, I was found this morning. It seems that I was strangled. There was a servant girl at the scene. Go, I'll see for myself. Flowers on the road, eyes microcoagulation, complexion Shen ran up. When Mo Shanghua arrived, the scene had been cleaned up, and Linger's body was neatly placed in the wood room, with a pail maid kneeling on one side. More importantly, Lu Qianqian, Yin Ji and others are here, and they don't know what to do. Mo Shanghua congealed eyes to see two people, skin flesh don't smile of mouth. The servant girl in my courtyard is gone. Poor don't know to concern everybody what matter. Early in the morning then come to join in this lively. When saying this, her Mao light is to sweep to Lu Qian of the placid color. Sure enough, Lu Qian now is put on a pair of scared look, pale face stood on the side, but strong stand on the side, refused to go weak and resolute appearance. Mo Shanghua sneers in her heart. I have to say that what happened recently is that this white lotus is indispensable everywhere. Lu Qianqian didn't notice the look of the flowers on the street. She glanced slightly and couldn't bear to avoid the direct impact of the corpse. She quietly took a look at Yunji standing on her side. The moment Yunji and Lu Qianqian's eyes collide in the air, Yunji's heart suddenly has confidence and raises her voice. It's okay to have a relationship with others, but the living maid is in the maidservant concubine's yard. Naturally, she has an inseparable relationship with the maidservant concubine. After a pause, her voice turned and poked straight at the flowers. Of course, I can't get away from the princess. Payer, why don't you come up and tell me all you know? I'm not sure. The princess can spare you. Kneeling on one side of Payer Smell's speech, the body shook shake, the body deeply fu low. Maidservant dare not say. Why don't you dare to say? All the sisters and the princess are here. What are you afraid of? Cloud Ji thin eyebrow light Cu. Seemed to be some displeasure at Pei son of timid. Mo Shanghua Mao Guang lingers on Yunji's and Payer's face, but he is a little dignified in his water eyes. He feels that it's wrong. Even so, she gently pursed her lips and temporarily restrained herself, ready to watch the change. Payer looked up at the flower in the street and bit her lip. Then she said, Hui madam Hui, this is how it is. The maid and Linger are very close sisters. Therefore, when I heard that she was punished yesterday, I quietly came to give her medicine. We talked a few words. She told me that she had never done yesterday's thing. It was Wang Princess. Princess deliberately framed her, want to borrow her to all the ladies in the house leeway at this point. Her voice was as thin as a mosquito and fly. She said that just after she finished, someone came to deliver the meal. Linger was afraid that I would be found and punished, so she asked me to hide. Even after that, the person who delivered the meal came in and strangled Linger alive. She said that it was the meaning of the princess. The maid hid in the VAT, so that she could escape the disaster. Voice down, full of uproar, Mo Shanghua instant has become the target of public criticism. The color of the flower eyes on the street is also suddenly cold, and there is a sense of killing at the bottom of the eyes. Lu Qianqian, full of the purpose of incredible color, stepped back and forth. How can it be like this? How can sister do such things? You really are not nonsense. Payer bangs her head on the ground, and her tears are dim. Linger is my best sister. I won't talk nonsense about her life and death anyway. I just don't want to carry the black pot when Linger is dead. We don't dare to say anything about the princess. In my opinion, we'd better invite the prince to come. After the shock, Yunji frowned and looked embarrassed. When the wall fell and everyone pushed, her voice fell, and Pingji and others echoed. Mo Shanghua coldly put everyone's expression in his eyes, and his voice was cold to the bone. You can believe that a slave has no brains? I'm not talking nonsense. I have evidence. Pei Er too took out a sign from her sleeve and said, This sign was left by the person sent by the princess yesterday. I was afraid that I would be found, so I put it away quietly. Yunji took the sign and looked at it carefully. Fang said, This is the sign of Wu Yuan. Say, she quietly made a wink to her close servant girl. The servant girl will come over. Busy quietly go down. Lu Qianqian took the sign and looked at it. His eyes were shocked, and he immediately turned to heartache. Elder sister, how can you guard the concubines in the house in order to stabilize your position? It's a human life anyway. Seemingly distressed words, in fact, just a long time did not mention the matter, and turned out, so that the flowers on the street to stand in the target. The flower water in the Mo. The eye is filled with a layer of frozen color, sneer in the heart repeatedly. Just about to open her mouth, Lu Qianqian came to her, and Chao Yunji and others saluted. Everyone, my sister didn't do this on purpose. There must be some misunderstanding. If you are upset, I will make amends for you on behalf of my sister. Please don't annoy my sister. When is it your turn to intervene in the affairs of my palace? Besides, have I ever admitted that I did it? My sister is too kind-hearted. The flowers on the street are red and the corners of lips are gently raised. It seems that there is a color of smile between lips and teeth. Only a word. Then let Lu Qianqian that delicate and moving eyes suddenly a stiff, slender 10 fingers tightly buckle sleeve, almost be angry out of internal injury. The princess's temperament has always been like this. Miss Lu's kindness should be accepted. Yinji's soft voice was a little ironic. Just as he was talking, the little servant girl who had been sent by Yunji led Yanbei City all the way. As soon as Yan Beiqing saw this scene, he found a seat and sat down with some obvious dissatisfaction in his voice. It's so noisy in the morning. What do you want to do? There was a sudden silence in the room, and everyone was afraid to say more. Only flowers on the street, but indifference swept him a look, then took back his eyes. Seeing this, Pear simply knelt to Yan Beiqing, and his tears were dim. Lord, the princess killed her servant girl Linger, in order to frighten the ladies of all the courtyards. It's really wrong to die. I beg the Lord to make the decision. Although that girl is not in my courtyard, she is really pitiful when she dies. The Lord has made the master for her. Yunji sighed, and Yu uttered a word, which killed her heart. Yan Beiqing raised his eyes and looked at the flowers on the street. His eyes were full of impatience. The deep part of his eyes was a little dark and treacherous. After a long time he said casually, "What should the princess do?" Naturally, I can't listen to the one-sided words of the servant girl. I just want to ask the servant girl a few questions myself. There is no panic on the flower face, but there is only a calm in the water eyes. Yen North City Mao Bottom once crossed the color of a few fan interest, pretended impatiently waved a hand, then good at the reaction of looking at the flower on the street. He got Yan Beiqing's promise and didn't open his mouth in the framing. At this time he just went to Pear and said, "Since you say that you are Linger's good sister, I ask you, do you know what she likes on weekdays? For example, what color does she like and what does she like to eat?" Pear was shocked and flustered. She likes orange, love to eat hibiscus cake. There are too many of them. I can't remember them for a moment. The corner of the flower lips on the street was smiling, and her voice was so flat that she couldn't hear her happiness and anger. It's just that others said that I deliberately denied it. Let's go and call the housekeeper. He is in charge of the list of the adults in the house, and ask her to find the maid who lives with Linger, and check what you said one by one. As long as this point is verified, it will be enough to overturn all her words. In this way, she will surely die. Pear's heart suddenly turned pale, and nearly collapsed on the ground. What's the matter with you? Are you afraid to confront me? Mo Shanghua squats down in front of Linger and opens her mouth, but her eyes fall on her like a saw. Before Pear opens her mouth, a silver needle is quietly clamped between her fingers. On the one hand, Pear's dumb acupoints are sealed, and on the other hand, the silver needle is stabbed in her arm. This silver needle is very poisonous. When it breaks out, it will rot in the intestines. To tell you the truth, I can save your life. If you don't tell me, you can watch it carefully. In the step that others can't see, the petals of flower lips slightly open and close. With the voice that only two people can hear, whisper in Pear's ear. Voice falls, she also will pay sun acupoint untie, get up and back again. Wave to call housekeeper. Pear sits on the ground with a dead face. Her eyes are full of panic. The words of Mo Shanghua just echoed for a long time in her mind. At last, before Mo Shanghua called the housekeeper, she suddenly said, "I'll tell you the truth, I'll tell you." "You little hoof, what are you talking about?" Cloud G in the heart of flustered, faintly feel not good, hurriedly opened a mouth, want to block Pei Sun's mouth. However, as soon as her voice fell, the eyes of the flowers on the street fell on her, which made her feel cold all over. Yunji is so anxious to speak. Doesn't it mean that this matter has anything to do with you? Yunji's face was suddenly stiff, and she shook her head. No, it's not. I'm just afraid that this little hoof's nonsense will pollute the ears of the prince and the princess. Yunji is worried, but a few words of truth, how can it be so? Mo Shanghua's lips gently pulled up a light radiance. Pear, you just say that. Maidservant, I didn't mean what I said before. I'm not Linger's good sister at all. Just now, those are all nonsense. Lady Yin instructed me to do all these things. Even that brand is fake. Pear knocked his head deeply on the ground, shaking his mouth. There was an uproar. Cloud Ji done when greatly surprised. In the eye slightly over a few minutes flustered. After a long time he tried to calm down, raised his voice and said in a sharp voice, "Little cheap hoof, what are you talking about? My lord, this hoof will say that it was ordered by the princess and framed by the concubine. There must be no truth in it. You can't believe it." Lu Qian is also across a bit flustered, but it is quickly down. The servant girl has already opened her mouth, and has been waiting for Yenji for so many years. She must have mastered a lot of things. If she keeps tracking down, she is afraid that she will be caught by the stranger. It's better to abandon Yenji and protect herself. Thinking about this, she gathered her eyes and stood aside, recovering her usual gentle and weak appearance. Sure enough, the next second, the flower on the street would hook the corner of her lips and sneer. "Yenji, this servant girl has just revealed her horse's feet. She is afraid of being implicated, and then tells the truth. How can it be nonsense in your mouth? Is there a ghost in your heart?" Yunji's face suddenly froze, and a sentence suddenly blurted out without thinking. No, Pei Er, don't you come up and explain quickly. It's not that your parents don't want to die." As her voice fell, her face suddenly changed, and sweat came out of her forehead. She wanted to remedy it, but her brain was blank, and she couldn't spit out a word. "The Lord has seen that Yunji has already called herself up. Please let him know." The flower face on the street turns around without expression, and the water eyes are indifferent, as if the words are not to convict a person, but just ordinary gossip. Since this woman's mind is so vicious, she just moves to Beiyuan. As for the servant girl, it's up to you. Yen North City Mao color is tiny deep, but on the surface just casually open-mouthed disposal. This king will take 2 imperial brothers to go out for a stroll later. The rest of you deal with it by yourself. Then he got up and walked out of the hospital, unwilling to stay more. Beiyuan. It's a deserted place in the mansion for a long time. It's said that there are many fierce ghosts. Cloud G leg a soft then kneel down, red eye socket, be dragged down before, don't forget to curse fiercely. "Bitch, you can't die well. I won't let you go, bitch, what a fool." Lu Qianqian scolded secretly, and his eyes were angry. Ingrun fingertips pinched the tiger's mouth hard. Just now Ying bowed forward, and looked at the flowers on the street with a pair of pitiful eyes. "Sister, I misunderstood you just now. It's all my fault. If you don't get rid of your anger, I'll follow you, as long as you can get rid of it." Her voice was soft and warm. Her eyes were wet, like tears. Mo Shanghua has not said anything yet, but when others see her, she is bullied by Mo Shanghua. I feel pity for her. Since she's going to play, she's going to be with me to the end. "Sister, what are you doing? When did I say I'd blame you?" Mo Shanghua looks at Lu Qianqian innocently, and her eyes are clearly marked with inexplicable. "Don't say it soon. Let others see it. I thought it was my elder sister who bullied you." Between the words, Mo Shanghua came forward and helped her up. Lu Qianqian follows the strength of the flower on the street to get up, but the bottom of her eyes is a bit of hate. She turns her mind and deliberately tilts her feet, so she falls down in front of the flower on the street. Mo Shanghua put her little actions into her eyes one by one, but deliberately let her fall in front of her, with a frozen color at the bottom of her eyes. "Sister, you just said you don't blame me. How come now it's like this?" Lu Qianqian was lying on the ground, covering her elbow without much pain and opening her mouth in a soft voice with tears in her eyes. Before the flowers on the street opened, she said to herself, "It's just that I'm wrong. It's right for my sister to hate me, as long as you can relieve her anger." Such a weak but resolute and sensible appearance. I'm afraid that there is a man present at this time. Surely he will be very distressed to protect him and care about the flowers on the street. In the flower eyes on the street, Lu Qianqian made a slight mockery. After Lu Qianqian had enough performance, he squatted down. "What does sister mean by this? So many eyes are watching. Who can see that I tripped you? What's more, the ground is covered with straw, which is soft. Is your elbow still broken?" Indeed, although they were very close to each other just now, they all saw Lu Qianqian fall down somehow. No one had seen it with their own eyes, but they just heard Lu Qianqian's words. Now listen to Mo Shanghua say so. In addition to her words behind, Now see Lu Qianqian's eyes on delicate. The palm of Lu Qianqian's hand suddenly tightened, and the slender one directly penetrated into the palm. He was so angry that he almost couldn't even stretch his facial expression. Mo Shanghua saw this, and the heart suddenly gave birth to some evil taste, quickly came forward to help her up, full of worry. Sister's body is so soft. Is in the soft ground can knock like this. The body is not so bad, let me have a look. Say then want to lift Lu Qian's sleeve. After Mo Shanghua said so, if the wound on her body is light, I'm afraid it will make people speculate about her new life. Lu Qian faced suddenly a stiff, busy arm back in the past. I don't matter, go back to have a look, sister don't have to worry. How can that be? Mo Shanghua's face is full of disapproval. If you don't think it's useful for me to see it, Qinya, go and ask the imperial Dr. Lu to come here and show it to my sister Haosheng. No, I really don't need it. I'll just go back and rub some medicine. Sister Lao is bothering. Lu Qianqian subconsciously retreated a few steps, for fear of being found by the flowers on the street, and quickly called the close servant girl to come over. My elbow is really painful. Go back to have a look first. Sister, don't want to worry, I'm going. The close servant girl is also a clever one, and she helps her. Lu Qianqian put her arm on the servant girl's raised hand. Under the cover of her sleeve, the servant girl's arm was pinched by her. The servant girl bited her lips in pain, but she didn't cry out. She hung her head for fear of being seen. Mo Shanghua put the two people's actions into his eyes, and the corners of his lips were vaguely gently lifted up, but he smoothed them out again in a moment. That's all, sister. Go back quickly. Lu Qianqian hands this just relaxed tone. Gather next eye, leave in a mess. As soon as Lu Qianqian left, the other concubines saw that there was no good play to watch, so they each found an excuse to leave. Mo Shanghua also went back to Wu Yuan, but after this incident, she had some thoughts in her heart. Lu Qianqian has frequently attacked her recently. Even the people in the mansion can be used by her at will. It can be seen that there are so many malignant tumors in the mansion. She must clear away the malignant tumor in the mansion. Thinking so, she didn't hesitate. Taking advantage of the heat that things just dissipated, she sent Qin Lin to call Zhang Wan over. Zhang Wan knew something about the Chaifeng yesterday, but he pretended not to see it. At this time, Mo Shanghua asked him to come, and he had some preparation in his heart. As a result, he knelt down respectfully and did not dare to say more for fear of being caught in the wrong place. However, although he is humble, he has no plans to let him off. Housekeeper, a man died in the Chaifeng yesterday, and he got into the house somehow. Do you know? Mo Huaing white food refers to the table lightly, voice indifference, cannot hear anger. The sound of tapping on the table came into his ears. Zhang Wan unconsciously raised it a little bit, and his mind was very thoughtful. He just said, recently His 3 Highnesses, His 13 Highnesses, and Miss Lu have come to the mansion. There are many things in the mansion, and the servant has not paid attention to it. But I checked the duty booklet. It's just because you've been here these days that you've brought people on duty. The flower on the street knocks the hand of tabletop slightly. The skin does not smile, slowly spit out a word. Zhang Wang's heart sank, and he knew that it was not good, so he buried his head. It's so right, but the slave was ill yesterday and didn't go to lead him. It was only this morning that he knew about it. I hope the princess can learn from it. I know that. The words of flowers on the street were slightly stopped, and the voice was a little heavy. But what I want to say is not this. A man died in the woodshed yesterday. Although you were ill, you have always been fully responsible for the duty. You can't escape the crime of dereliction of duty. The flower water eyes on the street suddenly rippled a layer of awe-inspiring color, and sternly reprimanded. This little bitch, it's going to make trouble. Zhang scolded in vain. His eyes turned and said, Princess, I dare not say that. I've been in charge of it recently. Before, the night patrol was always in the charge of the chief bodyguard. Even if I went there recently, I couldn't intervene at all. Besides, all the bodyguards were arrogant. Why did I send them? The flowers and water in the street flitted past the light tide, sneering in my heart. How many affairs in the house fall into the hands of the housekeeper, and how much the Lord dotes on the housekeeper. How can the bodyguards not know? I'm curious. Who dares to refute the housekeeper's face? Zhang Wan's face, which was buried on the ground, was a bit flustered and worried for a long time. He said, "The princess really is a slave. I'm just a housekeeper in the backyard. I hope the princess will be able to handle the affairs in the front yard fairly." "Don't say it, housekeeper." The flower on the street drooped her eyes and straightened her skirt. Then she raised her head without expression. "No matter what the original is, if it's wrong, it's wrong. What should be punished is the same. What's more, I can't just listen to your words and punish others. If so, how can I convince the public in the future?" "But princess..." Zhang Wan hastily opened his mouth to explain. Before he finished his sentence, the flower on the street directly interrupted. "However, if the housekeeper can help me do a good job, I can make up for my mistakes." Zhang Wan felt bad in his heart. He hung his head and thought for a long time. He hesitated and didn't know how to open his mouth. Needless to say, Emo Shanghua saw Zhang Wan's worry in his heart, and his voice quickly recovered his cold meaning. "The housekeeper has been in charge of the central government for many years. I think you should be more clear than me about the crime of dereliction of duty." How could he not know that he had to be dismissed? He had so many enemies. If he was dismissed, he could not imagine the consequences. Zhang Wan's forehead was cold and sweaty. After a long time of thinking, he just put his head on the cold ground and said, "Please tell the princess, I will do my best." Even so, his face buried on the ground is full of resentment and discontent. The housekeeper is really cheerful. Emo Shanghua knew what he thought, but he pretended not to know. Recently, there have been many troubles in the house, and every time it has something to do with the servant girls and servants. I think when I bought it, I didn't know the details. I think it's time to clean up those servants of unknown origin. She sat up slightly, with a graceful face. Payer had already driven out. After that, she bothered the housekeeper to check all the servants in our hospital who didn't know the details and sent them out of the house. Although I can't get involved in the other courtyard, I hope that the ladies of each courtyard can follow the example and bother the housekeeper to inform them one by one for the sake of less trouble in the mansion. Although it is hoped that the ladies of the courts will follow suit, the latter words are threatening. I have to say that this is indeed a hot potato. If Zhang Wan took this hot potato, he would lose his heart in the mansion. The ladies of all the courtyards would think that he was in the same boat with Emo Shanghua, and they would hate him. Zhang Wanzi didn't want to accept it, but now he has to commit crimes and make contributions. He didn't refuse at all, so he can only swallow the bitter coptis. Yes. Emo Shanghua then gently pulled his lips and said with a faint smile, "In that case, the housekeeper will come back in 3 days." Zhang Wang bowed his head to salute. He dared to stand up and retreat after a sound. The flower on the street saw the housekeeper quit, but it was quiet and couldn't find half of his eyes, so it was a bit strange and dark. After a long time, she looked at Qinya and said, "Pei-er, can you tell me?" She had promised Pei-er that she would save her life if she told the truth, and she would not go back. Back to the princess, Pei-er took the antidote in silver. Now she's out of the city. Well, Emo Shanghua's delicate jaw is a little bit gentle, and there are no waves in her eyes. By the way, Yanji remembers to send someone to follow her quietly. By the way, Pingji, who has always been friendly with her, also quietly sends someone to stare at her. Yes, Qinya whispered, but Yingshang was puzzled in her eyes. It's just the princess. Yanji has been demoted to Beiyuan by the Lord. She has no plans to turn over any storm. Why do you want to do that? Qinya, I only ask you, what do you think of Yanji's mind? Emo Flower lips light hook, do not answer rhetorical questions. Eyes at the end of an indifferent color. Qinya dropped her eyes to think about it seriously, but she still didn't know it, and her face was more puzzled. The willow eyebrows of the flowers on the street frowned slightly. After all, they slowed down their voice and patiently explained. I mean, there is another person behind this matter. Now that it is revealed, Yanji's life will be a bit threatened. With Lu Qianqian's temperament, the possibility of this kind of thing is very high. Qinya this just suddenly understand come over, busy toward Emo Shanghua urgent blessing body. Maidservant this go to do? Then he ran down in a hurry. The flowers on the street hold the celadone cup at will, and drink a sip of tea. A deep color slowly rises in their eyes. It's hard to understand. With the help of the servant girl, Lu Qianqian went all the way back to the courtyard where she was staying in the house. Until she came into the house, she held the hand of the servant girl's arm tightly. The servant girl endured all the way. Her arms were already blue and purple, but she didn't dare to make a sound at all. Lu Qianqian arrived at the house at this time, and she brought it from the imperial capital. Without any scruple, she pinched harder and harder. Some skin and flesh between the servant girl's arms were scratched and damaged, and a few blood beads came out. Suddenly, she could not help crying out in a low voice. Lu Qianqian's eyes full of anger and hatred suddenly fell on the servant girl's face. He raised his hand and slapped her hard on her white face. The servant girl's cheeks suddenly swelled up, but she didn't dare to say anything. She knelt down in tears. I should die, I know my mistake. A bunch of useless things, get out of here. Lu Qianshu raised his voice and swept all the servants in the room. The servants didn't dare to say much, so they all stepped back. She was the only one left in the house. Lu Qian was full of resentment, unwilling to reveal it completely. She completely covered her soft and beautiful cheek, and stabbed her long and sharp nails into her palm, almost puncturing her tender palm, but she didn't feel it. What happened these days was beyond her expectation. Even though she didn't achieve her original goal, she was embarrassed by that bitch's anti-general. It was really hateful. Don't you know her plan well? Lu Qianqian's pupils suddenly shrank, and his palms became tighter and tighter. After a long time he slowly released them. His resentment in his eyes gradually turned to his fierce eyes, and his intention to kill him. Since she came here, the side seems to be different, but it doesn't matter. No matter how she changes, she will eradicate her this time. Since you can't tell her what to do in the open, you can't help her in the dark. At night it's time for others to rest, but Mo Shanghua doesn't go to bed early. Instead, he holds a book and sits in front of the case to read it. Qinya pushed the door, put a cup of tea at the table and whispered, Princess, it's late now. You'd better go to bed earlier. On the street, Hua Yuguang glances at the teacup beside the table. Just as he wants to go down casually, the light in his eyes is suddenly sharp, and his eyes fall on Qinya's face quietly. Qin Yaxing's beautiful white, a pair of eyes is particularly smart, but at this time in front of people, although the appearance in Qinya is the same, but the eye color is completely different. In the heart of the flower in the street, the alarm bell suddenly rises. A silver needle has already been caged between the fingers of the right hand under the wide sleeve, but the left hand does not know. It raises the hand to take the teacup and send it to the lips. Su is so confident that the tea water is poisonous. Qinya sees Mo Shanghua drinking tea, but thinks that she doesn't pay attention to it anymore. Suddenly, she takes out a dagger from her sleeve and stabs Mo Shanghua's neck. However, as soon as she made a move in her hand, the flower on the street suddenly raised her head, turned her hands over, and the teacup went straight to Qinya's hand. Qinya did not expect, hand borne by this blow, Hookanum, can't help but step back 2 steps, full of murderous looking at the flowers. Mo Shang flower Mao color cold stand up, Mao bottom faintly gush out a few minutes kill idea. Who are you in the end? Qinya touched the back of her ear, gently uncovered it, and a human skin mask was pulled off, revealing a man's face. The princess has good eyesight, but you won't have a chance to ask like this in the future. As soon as the words came to an end, he put his hand to his lips and blew a whistle. Then 7-8 and the man in black broke through the window and entered, all covered in black gauze and holding a long sword. Mo Shanghua's face suddenly became dignified. He held the silver needle tightly between his fingers, and took a few steps back quietly. But the man in black didn't give her more opportunities. He just looked at her and killed her with a long sword. 7 or 8 men in black attacked at the same time, but Mo Shanghua didn't step back. When a few people were near, he stabbed the silver needle between his fingers towards the man in black. The silver needle shot away quickly in the air, and the 2 men in black shrank their pupils and quickly dodged. One of them could not escape. He was stabbed in the middle of the eyebrow and immediately fell to the ground. In addition to these two, there were 5 or 6 people in black who continued to kill her without hesitation. The flower in the street is awe-inspiring, but it is still. Until several people in black come near, they bend and pass under the table. Then they quickly sweep towards the door. However, before he came to the door, the man who had previously disguised as Chinya did not know when he spared her and chopped at her. The flower on the street steps down, hurried sideways, flash, had to turn back and fight with the man. The man's martial arts is excellent, but he is not weak. After a few moves with the man, he is forced to retreat. However, there are so many people in black clothes. After a long time, they can't afford to spend their time here, and the bodyguards who should have arrived in time don't know where they have gone, so they don't come back. The flower on the street was forced to the bedside, and the thin sweat on her forehead trickled down her delicate jaw. She adjusted her breathing, holding the hand of the man in black who had captured the sword, full of blood, and there was a dripping wound on the back of her hand. The remaining 4 men in black didn't give her a chance to breathe. They rushed towards her again. One of them was about to stab her in the back, while the other 2 were fighting with her. The flowers on the street feel the cold light behind them, but they can't avoid it at all. Between the lightning and the flint, the expected pain did not come, but sonorous. The cloaker did not know where he came from. He picked up the sword in the hand of the man in black behind the flowers on the street. Then he went around to her, grabbed a man in black's dagger, pressed the man in black's arm with his backhand, and turned it hard. With a click, the man in black screamed and was kicked out. Mo Shanghua turns her eyes to see Yan Beiqing with a cloak on her face. Before he can say anything, he pulls her directly behind him and protects her firmly. He continues to fight with those people in black. Mo Shanghua is already exhausted, and her forehead is full of sweat, but she can't wipe it. She stares at Yan Beiqing's fight with the people in black, and pays attention to the actions of every person in black, so as to prevent them from jumping over the wall. Yanbei City soon disposed of the rest of the people in black, and the only one left was killed himself. Yan Beiqing looks at the man in black, lying on the ground without expression. After he is sure that he is not alive, he steps to the front of Mo Shanghua. At that time, the shadow of the moon was clear, and the night was light. Yan Beiqing stood in front of her against the light of the moon. His broad cloak covered most of his face. Only a pair of deep ink pupils were the clearest. The treacherous and unpredictable surging at the bottom of his eyes made people even less brave to look down. "Thank you." The flower on the street looked up for a moment, then moved her eyes, her lips whispered, and her eyes were filled with a little gratitude, and a little feeling like nothing, which even she didn't realize. Yan Beiqing answers. Deep Mo Tong pauses on her bleeding arm. Her sword eyebrows wrinkle slightly. She raises her hand and takes out a square towel from her sleeve to gently lift Mo Shanghua's injured right hand. Mo Shanghua was surprised and subconsciously wanted to draw back her hand. "Don't move." The voice of low magnetism didn't sound like emotion. Yan Beiqing pulled her hand back and wrapped the square towel on her palm. The bloody palm was immediately wrapped in a handkerchief, but there was still some blood soaked in the gauze. Mo Shanghua droops his eyes and looks at the square towel on his hand. He can't help but be stunned. When he raises his eyes, he clearly captures his frown, which makes him feel puzzled. "You should have run out of the last golden sore medicine. You can use this one this time." Yan Beiqing took out a small bottle from his sleeve, which was the same as last time, and handed it over. The flower on the street looks down at his hand handing the small porcelain vase. It seems that there is something quietly in her heart. Pingnan is so small that she doesn't notice it. After a while, she took over the medicine bottle and sipped her lips lightly. After all, she said, "Thank you very much for today's business and this medicine bottle." She didn't ask for his identity, and didn't guess his intention, just so simple thanks, but let Yan Beiqing eyes color slightly deep. "No need." Yan Beiqing staggered her eyes, voice low magnetic calm. "Soon someone will come. I am inconvenient to stay more than go ahead." The flower eyebrow heart on the road is light. "See you." Words haven't finished yet. Then hear the distance spread the tiny footstep sound. She can't help but side-eye to see. Listen to the sound of footsteps. It should be that a large group of people came. When the flowers on the street came back to God, the figure of Yan Beiqing had disappeared, and her eyes were a little bright. So timely, it seems that her guess is not wrong. Not long after that, King Yan Beiqing himself brought a team of people and rushed into the house. Outside the house, he was surrounded by water. Yan Moli and Yan Xinchuan also follow at this time. Mo Shanghua had not had time to look carefully. Yan Beiqing walked anxiously in front of her, holding her thin shoulder tightly in both hands. "Princess, are you okay? Is there any injury?" "He looks like a good husband who worries about his wife." Yan Xinchuan's eyes, which followed him, were also full of worry. The slender big palm could not control it, but when he saw Yan Beiqing's hands, his eyes were filled with pain, and his hands fell again. However, his eyes full of worry still fell on the flowers on the street. Mo Shanghua seems to be aware of his line of sight. She glances at him and gently nods her jaw. But in a moment, she takes back her line of sight and looks at Yan Beiqing. Some assassins have mixed in. Now they have killed all the assassins. After a pause, she seemed to think of something. Her eyes suddenly changed. "What about Qin Lin and Qin Ya? Did the bodyguard in the mansion search it?" "Don't worry, princess." Yan Emoli, who had been silent for a long time, just stepped forward. His eyes were light and deep. "All the places in the courtyard have been searched, and many of those servants have been locked in the ear room. Now they are all right." Mo Shanghua didn't speak. She glanced at Yan Mo silently. She wanted to see something in his eyes. At last, she only caught a glimpse of deep and strange darkness, and could not see the emotion at all. At this point, she just gathered eyes, voice alienated indifference. "This is the thing in my palace, now unexpectedly disturbed to the 3rd and the 13th Highness, really shouldn't, the rest of the things to the king enough. 2 or go back to rest." Yan Beiqing looks at the flowers on the street. The deep color of the eyes is flowing, but he looks at her pretendingly, as if to say something. Mo Shanghua quickly raised his hand and held it. He gently pinched it. Yan Beiqing didn't move. However, this action down, the wound on the back of her hand is a burst of pain, but she did not frown as if not aware. However, she didn't know that Yan Beiqing's eyes swept over her hands covered with layers of gauze, and the bottom of her eyes quickly swept over some dark light. Mo Shanghua looks at Yan Emoli calmly. He seems to be waiting for his answer, but in fact he is observing his words and deeds quietly. "I thought Yan Moli would stay, but unexpectedly, he nodded and looked as old as before. Since the family affairs of the 9th Emperor's younger brother and the princess, I don't want to interfere much in this hall. The Emperor's younger brother can handle it by himself." Then he turned and looked at Yan Xinchuan beside him. "Brother Jiuhuang, let's go." Yan Xinchuan suddenly regained his mind. He pressed down all the worries in his eyes and nodded with a smile. Until he left, the light in his eyes still lingered on the flowers. The flowers on the street are clearly passing by. His face is not very good tonight. He must have come in a hurry today and caught a cold. This 13 princes, the body is really weak, even so anxious to come out to see her safety. This has let her heart rose a little pity. Yan Beiqing pulled the flower's face on the street, and said with childish annoyance, "People are gone, what else are you looking at?" After a pause, he couldn't help muttering, "It's just better looking." Mo Shanghua's indifferent eyes could not help passing a smile, but his face was deliberately cold and his hands fell down. "Yan Beiqing, don't make any noise." Her voice turned, and her eyes were a bit serious. "There are so many guards in the palace, and all the people in our hospital were arrested quietly. How do you plan to deal with this?" Yan Beiqing didn't want to hear what she said, but his face was covered up by anger. "I must find out something about such a big thing. You can rest assured, princess." With that, he ordered people to search and clean up the corpses on the ground, and then called Zhang Wan over. Zhang Wan was still angry because he was suddenly called up. When he heard that it was such a big thing, he was sleepy and rushed over. "I've seen princes and princesses and they are blessed. Whether it is successful or not, he will be involved. Naturally, he has no idea. Wanfu, the assassins have all rushed to the palace of the king. How can you make the king happy?" Yan Beiqing patted the table heavily. pointed to the corpse which had been placed on the ground neatly, and covered with white cloth, and scolded with anger. Zhang Wan had been in the palace for so many years, but he had never seen Yan Beiqing lose his temper so much. He said in his heart, "Excuse me, my lord. I've been busy with servants of unknown origin in Zhiqing's palace recently. I haven't even seen the bodyguard. I really don't know that there will be such a big trouble. It's going to pass the buck." Mo Shanghua sneered in her heart and added coolly, "The housekeeper's words are really nice, but how can I remember that I talked to you about this problem a few days ago and told you about Zhiqing's servants, but I didn't say that I asked you not to take care of these things. The housekeeper didn't forget. Good you Zhangwang." Yan Beiqing's whole face was black. He raised his finger to him and said angrily, "The princess has just been admonished, so you forget it. You dare to push the responsibility to the princess. You are really an unfaithful dog slave. I trust you in vain these years." "I dare not." Zhang Wan's heart was filled with awe, and then he knew that the matter was serious, and there was a cold sweat on his forehead. After thinking about it for a long time, he gritted his teeth and admitted that he had made a mistake. "I'm so confused recently that I made such a mistake. Please forgive me. Look at this mess. How can I forgive you?" Yin North City anger extremely counter-smile. The Mao bottom is still a piece of calm, didn't rise half-cent billows. Damn the slave. Zhang Wang deeply touched his head on the cold ground, sweating profusely on his forehead. In his heart, he had scolded Mo Shanghua and Yan Beiqing for thousands of times. Every time there was an accident, it was related to this little bitch. She was a damn disaster, and the Lord also believed this little bitch and wanted to take him for a crime. However, he is just another one of these prestige. He will not do anything to him in the end. Yen North City Mao Bottom once delimited a touch of dark color. For a long time all didn't speak. For a long time, he turned his head to look at the flowers on the street, and his tone eased a lot. The dark color at the bottom of his eyes surged layer upon layer. "The princess thinks, how should we deal with it?" The flowers in the street gathered their eyes, and their voice was cold and indifferent, but what they said was opposite to their indifferent voice. "It's all up to the Lord. It's hard to be so obedient." Yan Beiqing's eyes flashed a bright color. Then he turned his head and looked at Zhang Wan again. "Since the housekeeper is so careless, neglecting his duty, and trying every means to shirk his responsibility and betray the king's trust in you, then you can no longer interfere in the management of the royal family. He's going to take 20 boards by himself." Such a reckless and hasty decision is also in line with Yan Beiqing's personality. However, Mo Shanghua was surprised. After all, Yan Beiqing trusted Zhang Wan very much before, but now he withdrew him. It was too sudden. Zhang was also shocked, and his eyes widened beyond belief to see Yan Beiqing. Only when the servant came up and wanted to drag him down did he react. He broke away from the shackles and went forward on his knees. "Lord, I've been doing my best for so many years. I've been working hard without any credit. Please think twice." He has long been used to being a housekeeper and can be a bully. Now he has taken away his right, and how can he accept it? Yen North City sneers. "The anger in the eye does not reduce but increases. Hard work? How can your little hard work be equal to what the princess has suffered today? If the princess really has a little mistake, can you afford it?" After a pause, his eyes sank and he said, "I'm adding 20 boards. Come on, drag them out." When he was dragged down, Zhang didn't forget to shout, "Lord, I'm wronged. You can't do that." Yan Beiqing frowned, a pair of fidgety appearance. Let people close his mouth, noisy to death. Yes. There is a little guy should be a, hurriedly slipped down. After a while, there was no Zhang's voice outside the door, and silence returned to the room. Yan Beiqing took the tea on the table and drank it. It took a long time for him to feel like he was down. He stood up and said in a loud voice, "In the palace, the princess is the only hostess except the king, so in the future, all the affairs in the palace will be managed by the princess. It's the same as before. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important." While talking, he looked at his close friend, raised his hand and patted him on the shoulder. "You go to inform all the hospitals of the news." "Yes." The boy answered in a low voice, and he was busy. Since Yan Beiqing severely punished Zhang Wan, there had been speculation in the flower heart of the stranger. Therefore he was not surprised. He just raised his lips and spat out a specious sentence. Is the Lord really willing to be a housekeeper? How to give up? Yan Beiqing's eyes were full of light, and his eyebrows were filled with anger. It's very good for me to leave such an unfaithful dog slave alive. Can I have delusions about him? Well, even he thought, I will never forgive you. The flowers on the street didn't answer, but the deep part of the water eyes was rippling. It seemed that he was guessing Yan Beiqing's intention. After all, Yan Beiqing's attitude towards her was neither like nor dislike. How could he suddenly give her so much power? Is it not because she saved the middle-aged man that he has been carrying out their agreement? Although it is a guess, but Mo Shanghua's heart has been determined, and the color of his eyes has returned to indifference. After such a toss in the middle of the night, if I were someone else, I would go to bed early. But Yan Mo Li didn't do that. Instead, he raised his pen and wrote in front of the case. His eyes were deep and dark. It was just at dawn when the dark guard came in quietly and knelt down. Your Highness, the matter has been found out. It's really the people on Miss Lu's side. Now Miss Lu's side is worried about the lack of several people in the guard. Please show me. Stupid. Yan Mo Li and the hand wolf Hao Pen Shu of Emil. Deep Mao bottom gush out a few minute tiny angry color. This woman has become more and more restless recently. If only she could handle it properly, but she is so stupid that she always steals chicken and leaves a pile of tail. Yan Mo Li put down the long Hao pen in his hand, and left the blank sheet of paper on one side. Just now he said, let some people in the dark guard camp be on top of it. By the way, let her share it safely these days. Don't have any trouble again. Yes. Darkway bowed his head respectfully. Well. Yan Mo Li light should a negative hand in front of the case. Right, today's things 9 Emperor younger brother is how to deal with. Report back to Your Highness. Your Highness King Yu is very angry today. He furnishes the housekeeper, withdraws the housekeeper's post, plays 40 big boards again, and turns over the power of housekeeper to the princess. Yan Mo Li eyebrow heart subtle light wrinkle, eyes in circulation and over a bit of suspicious color. It is reasonable to say that the housekeeper has made many mistakes recently, especially yesterday. Yan Beiqing's willful and reckless character is normal. But he always felt that there was something wrong in his heart, but he couldn't say it was. It was really strange. It was Lu Qianqian who was not only stupid, but also troublesome. Yan Mo Li Wu thought about it for a long time, and then he looked back at the dark way. His eyes were as deep as the bottom of the spring, and there was no color in them. He ordered people to keep staring at the 9th Emperor's younger brother, and the princess to pay attention, and send some people with good internal information. Good internal breathing, to avoid being found. He has always been suspicious. Now he is not only a little suspicious of Yanbei City, but also a stranger. Yes. Dark Wei Sync voice should be under, quietly disappeared in the room. Yan Mo Li looked back at his desk, looking at the remaining writing works he had not destroyed. The corners of his lips gently stirred up, and the dark color at the bottom of his eyes was surging. Yan Xinchuan went back to his temporary yard, but he couldn't sleep. He didn't go to the front 2 steps until the person sent to investigate came back. How's it going? He held it lightly in the palm of his hand, and his eyes were a little worried. The boy lowered his head and said respectfully, Princess, it seems that her hand is hurt, but the rest is nothing. As for His Highness King Yu, he was just a housekeeper in a rage. He beat another 40 boards and handed over the power of housekeeper to the princess. Yan Xinchuan's brows suddenly wrinkled, and he walked out with a noisy step. Go and ask the imperial doctor to come here, and let me follow me to the dockyard as soon as possible. Just after 2 steps he suddenly stopped, and his eyes were full of pain. It took a long time for him to say, well, later, you just go and send me the golden sore medicine in the cupboard. After a pause he seemed to think of something, and his eyes were dim. I'm taking some ointment for soothing marks. If she asks, she says that the scar on the woman's hand is not good looking. It's for the future. The little sea seemed puzzled, but he didn't reply. Your Highness wants to see the princess. Why is that so? It's just that I didn't think about it. Yen Xinchuan closed his eyes, covered all kinds of bitterness in his eyes, and opened his mouth low. She was so frightened yesterday that she must have gone to bed very late. Now she should still be resting. Why did he disturb her at this time? The most important thing is that his current status is no longer convenient to see her again, which will only bring her criticism. It's not as good as what's rare in the future. The boy nodded and didn't dare to ask again. Then he turned and left. Yen Xinchuan turns and walks to the window, opens the window, lingers around the window in his eyes, and finally falls in the direction of the dockyard. The worry in his eyes, bitter and uncontrollable, comes out. In fact, he has heard something about what happened these days. Others are in the game and can't really see it. However, as an outsider, he can see it very clearly. He also sees the recent changes of Mo Shanghua in his eyes. It's just so what? She has gone through so many things, and the inner courtyard of the deep house has always been a place that eats people and does not spit bones. He understands that she will do so. He only hopes that she can continue to live safely and richly. In this way, he just wants to treat her as if he didn't know. He just silently guards her. Outside the window, the spring breeze blows gently from time to time, bringing a bit of coolness. Yen Xinchuan is not in good health, so he clenches his fist and coughs softly on his lips. After a while, he gently raised his eyes and tried to press down his thoughts. He closed the window and walked slowly back to the front of the collapse. When Mo Shanghua got the medicine sent by Yen Xinchuan, it was already noon. It was time to rest, but she didn't fall asleep. She called the boy in. The young man presented the 2 small porcelain bottles one by one, and knelt down respectfully. Tell Princess Yu that this celadone bottle is filled with the best healing medicine, while that one is used to soothe the scar. Your Highness has explained that it's not good for a girl to have a scar. Please use it when your wound scabs. Qinya tries to show off all the 2 bottles of medicine. The flower on the street looks down and takes a close look at them. Then she takes the medicine from the porcelain bottle and opens it and smells it. Then she smiles. Sure enough, they are excellent medicines. Your Highness Lao has taken great care of them. After a pause, she turned her eyes and looked at him. Thank Your Highness for me. These 2 medicines are indeed extremely valuable in the world. Just because of their taste, they are better than other herbs. Yes. The boy was about to retreat, but the flower suddenly opened his mouth. Wait a minute. What else can I do for the princess? The boy stopped and asked. Recently, the spring is so good that the prince and his 3 highnesses go out to the lake to enjoy the scenery. But I heard that his 13th highness hasn't been there these days. But what's the matter? Mo Shanghua sat up straight and asked in a low voice with doubts on her face. Seemingly puzzled, but actually concerned. Yen Xinchuan has always been kind to others, and he is so devoted to her. He has been in trouble these days. When I saw him yesterday, his face was so bad. I heard that he has been ill since he was young. I'm afraid he's not very well recently. The boy sighed and frowned sadly. The princess doesn't know. The prince has been much better in recent years. All the way he has been in peace. But I don't know what happened these days, and it's not very good. The imperial doctor can't see anything. She always lets him take the bitter medicine, but it's not good. I can't help worrying about my master. The bottom of the flower eyes on the street is a little worried. However, for a moment he was replaced by calmness and said faintly, If so, please have a good rest. Yes, if there is nothing wrong with the princess, the slave will leave first. The boy sighed again and said it respectfully. When he got to the flower on the street, he nodded and went out. Qinlin and Qinya look at each other. They are surprised by each other's eyes. They can't help but turn their heads and look at the flowers on the street. Mo Shanghua raised her eyes and looked at the 2 people. After pondering for a while, she said in a low voice, The 13 princes thought much about me before. First, they brought the imperial doctor to see me personally, and then they ordered people to give me medicine. Every time they treated each other sincerely, I just looked at his weakness and felt pity for him. Qinlin and Qinye look at each other silently. There is no doubt about the words of flowers on the street. They don't ask more. You go down first. I'm tired. Mo Shanghua gathered her eyes, got up and went to the inner room. Yes. When they retired, Mo Shanghua also entered the inner room, but she was lying on the couch and didn't sleep for a long time. At night, Mo Shanghua changed into a casual dress, escaped the guard of the patrol, the maid of the night, and quietly sneaked into the east courtyard. This is Yan Xinchuan's temporary residence in the mansion. Mo Shanghua Maoguang is vigilant to sweep a circle inside the house, just slowed down the pace, quietly walking toward the person on the couch. She was light-footed and fell to the ground without a sound. Therefore, when he fell on the ground, he didn't make a sound until he came to the bed. Yan Xinchuan didn't notice. Mo Shanghua carefully lifts up the veil and sweeps Yan Xinchuan up and down in the moonlight. The light of his eyes falls on the thin wrist outside his brocade quilt. She squatted down and put her hand between Yan Xinchuan's wrists to feel the pulse of her hands. The fingertips between the wrists were slightly cool. Yan Xinchuan breathed slightly. His eyelashes trembled slightly, but he did not open his eyes. Mo flower Mao light always falls in his pulse, never let go. According to this pulse, Yan Xinchuan should have been a symptom of less than a month since he was born. In recent days he suffered from wind and cold, which led to this perennial disease. It's just that he's only been ill these days. He hasn't asked Yan Beiqing to send the imperial doctor to come. I think he's used to this disease. That's how it is. He was born with such a disease. Yan Beiqing stood in the corner of the room, gathered his breath, quietly looked at the drooping eyes in the room, and carefully felt Yan Xinchuan's pulse. In the deep ink pupil, a bit of dark and treacherous color, and a very light color of displeasure, slowly tightened his palm. All of a sudden, the palm of Yan Beiqing's hand suddenly loosened, and his heart was shocked. When did he get upset because of such things? Thinking about this, Yan Beiqing's mysterious eyes became more and more mysterious, and the ink color was surging layer upon layer. Mo Shanghua in the house is not aware of it. She looks down at Yan Xinchuan, who is sleeping with her eyes closed. She sighs in her heart. She just takes her hand away. Yan Xinchuan opens her eyes and sits up with her hands. She looks at her calmly. Her eyes are complex. There is no accident. Silent and he looked at each other for a long time, lip opened, but I do not know what to say. After pondering for a long time, I heard her voice speak very softly. Your disease is not serious. I have seen the prescription you took before, and there is nothing wrong with it. Just if you want to eliminate the recent old disease earlier, you have to follow my prescription. Do you wish? Yan Xinchuan didn't speak, only opened a pair of clean and gentle eyes, pursed his lips and gazed at her. The look in his eyes changed constantly, surprise, doubt, heartache, all kinds of emotions intertwined into a group, more and more complex. The flower quilt on the street is staring at him with such an expression. His 5 fingers are white and tender, and he gently pinches his sleeve unconsciously. His voice is dry, and he doesn't know what to say. For a long time, until their breath could be heard, Yan Xinchuan said in a dumb voice, "When do you know the medical skills?" In other words, what he wanted to ask was when she began to look like this. This is what he wanted to ask these days, but he never had the chance to ask. Just now the words to the throat, is also pondering hesitation for a long time, just asked out. The bottom of the flower eyes on the street quickly across a different color. The palm cage is loose in cage, and then finally loose down. Nearly 4 months have passed since that day. The implication is that 4 months have passed. 4 months is enough to change many things. Yan Xinchuan eyes across a bit of trance color, murmured in a low voice. It was so long in the past. Mo flower eyes in the look calmed down, not half of the waves, before Lu Qianqian already died. She died in the dungeon of that day, in the great injustice, countless grievances, and those who killed her are still at large. Her eyes in the flow of extremely fast and past, a touch of bright color, spin even if restored a piece of calm. However, what she said did not mean that. It depends on how Yen Xinchuan understood it. Sure enough, Yen Xinchuan gathered his eyes and thought for a while, then he understood what she meant. He had to grow up because of the situation, but only to survive. Or she is full of hatred now. His eyes' color cluster ran dark down. In the heart sighed a breath. I all know. My name now is Emo Shanghua. Seems to see his eyes dim. Emo Shanghua hesitated for a while. Word by word of the mouth. For months, only you know. Yen Beicheng, who was hiding in the dark, had a cold eye, and a deep dark color gushed out of his eyes, which was hard to control. Only you know. This sentence constantly echoed in his mind, just like a demon, which made him feel angry, and even could not help breathing. Fortunately, he noticed his mistake in time, adjusted his breathing back, turned around and left quickly, and then disappeared in the house. Emo Shanghua is the eye color. Suddenly a Li Shu of stand up, the eye light sharp from the house. Every slowly sweep. Who? Yen Xinchuan instantly understood, sat up straight, and tried to raise his voice. Maidservant should die, maidservant should die. Outside the house immediately came the voice of the servant girl. Yen Xinchuan turned his eyes to see the flowers on the street. Seeing her gently click her jaw, he was relieved. It's okay. It's late. You can change shifts. The night duty is done by turns. Now that the maid outside wakes up, it's hard to avoid hindering them from speaking. It's better to send them in advance. Yes. The servant girl outside the house also breathed a sigh of relief, answered A, then quickly rolled the blanket down. The flower on the street stares at the maid outside the window. I don't know why. I always feel wrong in my heart, but I can't say what's wrong. I feel uncomfortable. What's the matter? Seems to see the flowers on the wrong. Yen Xinchuan brow light wrinkle. See now no one else. Eyes cannot help but vent a bit worried. Nothing. Emo Shanghua takes back her sight and closes her eyes. The long eyelashes like a PU fan immediately cover the complicated look in her eyes. In the dark, people can't see her look clearly. The room was silent again. After a long time, Yen Xinchuan gently pulled up the corner of his lips and said with a gentle smile, If you can tell me your name now, I will be satisfied. As for the others, I don't want to be extravagant. Emo Shanghua's ruddy lips opened. I wanted to say something. When I got to my lips, I couldn't spit it out anyway. After thinking about it, I turned to hook my lips and smile back. The haze in Yen Xinchuan's eyes just disappeared a lot, and he also said with a smile, By the way, I left something for you in Tianka and outside Yuzhou City, but now is not enough. When I'm gone, you'll send someone you trust to get it. At that time, you tell the shopkeeper that you can find Lu Xian, and he will take you to get it. What is it so mysterious? See Yen Xinchuan account so much, can't help but have some curiosity, can't help but quite interested in the question. Yen Xinchuan's eyes quickly crossed something, but he just shook his head with a smile. Now you can't say, then you will take it yourself. After a pause, his eyes were slightly coagulated and his face was solemn. Anyway, I won't hurt you. The flower on the street was slightly stunned. There was a warm current in her heart, which moved her a little. She couldn't recover for a long time. Until Yen Xinchuan called her name lightly. She suddenly came back to herself, and her lips tilted up. Okay. By the way, your body. My body is like this. You don't have to worry about it. It's getting late. Go back and have a rest early. A word hasn't finished. Yen Xinchuan then low voice interrupts. In the eye rare firm rise. Emo Shanghua see this, then also not in force nodded. That's good, but if you have any bad in the future, find me in time. With that, she turned and left. In a flash, she lost her figure. When the house was quiet again, Yen Xinchuan raised his hand and looked at the wrist he had just been touched by her. The bitterness in his eyes flowed out, and his heart began to ache. Emo Shanghua quietly returns to the dockyard. After some tossing, she also has no sleepiness. With a casual glance of her eyes, she sees the shoe trace ointment sent by Yen Xinchuan on the table. She then remembered that she had also prepared the medicine for removing traces a few days ago. She picked up the ointment, opened it and looked at it carefully. With a flash in her mind, She took out the medicine for removing traces. There are many good things in this Shuchen ointment. If it is extracted and mixed with the medicine to remove the marks, it must be a good medicine to remove the marks. So think, Mo Shanghua will not hesitate. Pick up Shu trace cream, began to extract. Because of her hand injury, it took her quite some time to finish all this. At that time it was almost dawn. Mo Shanghua is already tired. He smears the ointment on his face and goes to sleep. Lu Qianqian in a row after the wall, is still not reconciled, but the ink of a warning, or let her have to stop for a few days. But as the day of returning to Beijing approached, she couldn't bear it, so she found a way to go to the dockyard. When Mo Shanghua heard Qinya's report, the corners of her lips gently stirred up a light tide. Let her come in. Qinya turned her lips and seemed to be discontented. The princess knows that she is upset and kind-hearted. Why do you want her to come in? It's better to let the maidservant find a way to keep her out, so as not to make people upset. No, the corner of Flower's lips on the street widens, and the color of irony in her eyes grows stronger. She's going to leave soon, so it's okay to play with her. Qinya, please go. Qinya puffed her mouth. After all, she couldn't resist it, so she went. Not long after, Lu Qianqian stepped into the elegant posture, met my sister. She was holding the brocade handkerchief in one hand and folding it on the other hand, curling up to salute the flowers on the street. The flower on the street gathered a smile on her lips and quietly glanced at Lu Qianqian in a light tone. Sister, get up quickly. You are so weak, but you have to sit down quickly. Qinya, give your sister a cup of hot tea quickly. She deliberately bited the word weak, which was obviously a deliberate repetition of the past. However, the worry on her face was very serious. Although Lu Qianqian was angry, she could not say that she was not a stranger. Lu Qianqian's lips were slightly stiff for a moment, and soon he took up a gentle smile and sat down. Thank you, sister. Qinya's hands and feet are sharp, and the hot tea is quickly served. Because she didn't like Lu Qianqian, the tea was really hot tea. Miss Lu is weak. It happens that it's raining recently. It's cold. It's good to have some hot tea to warm her stomach. Afraid of being found by Lu Qianqian, Qinya turns her eyes around and smiles at Lu Qianqian. Can you warm your stomach with such hot tea? If you drink it, you will burn your mouth. If there is a master, there must be a servant. There are two bitches. Lu Qianqian heart dark hate, face but had to pull up the corner of the lip, voice soft and gentle. If it is really my sister in the yard, really like my sister in general, very considerate and careful. The vermilion full lip petals of the flowers on the street gently stirred up, politely and alienated with a smile. This girl only has this clever strength, let my sister laugh. After a pause, she can't help but turn her eyes and quietly take a look at Qinya, with some disapproval in her eyes. Qinya will come over, quietly spit out tongue. This just don't want to go down. Lu Qianqian's thin jaw light point. Immediately think of what general. Turn Mao to the servant girl after death ordered too. After a while, the servant girl came in holding a delicate wooden box to Lu Qianqian's side. Lu Qianqian gets up and cuts the water. Her autumn pupil is stained with the color of not giving up. Sister, I'm going to return to the imperial capital in the future. I'm afraid I won't see you again this time. My sister really wants to give up. As she spoke, she opened the box and took the hairpin out of it. Her eyes were full of crystal clear water, and her eyes were full of water. She said, my sister came in such a hurry that she couldn't bring anything with her. This golden hairpin has been with me for several years. I heard that it was my mother's dowry, so I have never been willing to wear it. If my sister doesn't dislike it, let's keep it for thought. Between the lines, she was always in love with her sisters. What's more, she pulled out the dowry. Undoubtedly, she felt the nostalgia of Mo Shanghua for her late mother, and felt guilty. She thought that even if it was not because of others, she would accept it just because of this. It's not only the legacy of my sister's mother, but also of great significance. It's my sister's beloved. It's even harder for me to win people's love. I'd better keep it by myself. If I really miss it in the future, I'll write more letters. Of course, whether she will reply is another matter. It's the thing I love. I don't care to give it to my sister. But as soon as her voice came down, Lu Qianqian's expression became more and more pitiful. Her tears filled her eyes. My sister is so reluctant to take this hairpin, but I don't think it's been a long time. The flower eyes on the street were suddenly cold, and they didn't get up with their bodies. My sister took me so sincerely. How could I dislike this? But this hairpin is too important, and I dare not accept it. From her point of view, the gold hairpin was really exquisitely carved, like it had been washed again. It didn't feel old and simple, but exquisite and brand new. However, Lu Qianqian's sudden show of affection, how can he have good intentions therefore? Mo Shanghua's heart directly sentenced the hairpin to death. The tears in Lu Qianqian's eyes ran down her cheek. She didn't wipe them. She let the tears flow all over her face. The appearance of pear blossom with rain made her feel pity. If my sister said that, she would not take my sister as a family. I'm really sad. Lu Mei, a flower in the street, frowned lightly and went forward. She took the brocade handkerchief in Lu Qian's hand to wipe her tears. Why does my sister suffer like this? If someone else sees her, he thinks that her sister has met something bad, because she is crying like this because of a hairpin. Lu Qianqian's eyes were slightly stagnant. After a few breaths, he burst into tears and laughed. Sister, what do you mean you are willing to accept it? Great. Come on, sister. Take it. With that, he put the hairpin in his hand into the flower's hand. I don't know, intentionally or unintentionally. When the hairpin is about to touch the flower on the street, the hairpin that Benping sent suddenly tilted slightly in Lu Qianqian's hand, and the sharp end immediately pointed to the back of the flower's hand. Mo Shanghua felt wrong in his heart, and could not help but step back 2 steps. But I didn't think about it. One of them accidentally bumped into the desk behind him. The desk shook, and the hot tea on it immediately fell down and fell apart on the ground. Mo Shanghua and Lu Qianqian both took 2 steps to the side, especially Lu Qianqian, who had seen the temperature of the hot tea and was afraid that the splashing tea would scald her. Unexpectedly, she suddenly stepped back and accidentally bumped into the servant girl behind her. With a cry of surprise, she fell to the ground together with the servant girl behind her. Her hands holding the golden hairpin consciously went to support the ground. However, because the hairpin was too long, when she was passing her cheek, Sheng Sheng drew a shallow blood mark on her white and tender cheek. Then, at the speed visible to the naked eye, the edge of the wound quickly blackened, as if poisoned. Lu Qianqian's face suddenly turned white. He threw the hairpin in his hand and raised his hand to cover his face. He was too frightened to speak. The servant girl was too scared to ask. She quickly got up and knelt on the ground, her body shaking like chaff. Mo Shanghua sweeps a glance at Lu Qianqian's blackened wound and suddenly sinks in his heart. That hairpin is poisonous. It seems that Lu Qianqian just deliberately did that just to harm her. As soon as this idea was implemented, the bottom of the flower eyes on the street became cold, but it was replaced by a thick worry in a flash. Sister, what's the matter with you? Why are you so careless? Get up and let me have a look. Lu Qianqian's hand, which covered her cheek, trembled gently. There was a deep hatred in her eyes. The gentle and weak face almost couldn't be maintained because of anger. After a while, she clenched the palm under her sleeve and sobbed. Sister, how can you treat me like this? What did I do wrong? Speaking, she quietly pinched a servant girl who was still kneeling and shivering. The servant girl was stunned for a few breaths before she could react and said, Miss Servant Girl, I'm going to ask your highness to come here and make decisions for Miss. With that, he had to stand up and run back. Lu Qianqian stares at the flowers on the street, as if to make a hole in her. However, after such a close look, I found that the original crisscross and ferocious scars on her face had faded a lot, and the original beautiful appearance could be seen. What's going on? How could that be? The green fingers under her sleeve suddenly closed tightly, and the palm of her sharp and slender fingernails hurt, but she suddenly didn't feel it. She was full of resentment and couldn't believe it. And the flower on the street side? Haven't had time to open a mouth. That servant girl already ran to the door. Her eye bottom suddenly a cold, such as Qin extremely cold place 10,000 years of ice. Cold bone freezing. It's finally showing. Lu Qianqian suddenly returns to his senses and laughs fiercely in his heart. But on his face, he looks at her in horror like a frightened deer. Sister, what are you going to do? Flowers suddenly smile, slowly hook lips a smile. Eyes in ice cold but half not reduced. She went to Lu Qianqian's side, lowered her voice in her ear and said, Sister, how did your face start to rot? What's more, the hairpin seems to be poisonous. Lu Qianqian's face changed violently. He stood up and covered his face in horror. Around as so, she still did not forget to pick up the hairpin on the ground. Had not had time to bend over, Mo Shanghua would have taken up the hairpin. Lips microstrip smile. Lu Qianqian clenched his fist, and after all, he covered his black cheek and left quickly. When he came out of the dockyard, Yan Moli was invited. He was surprised to see that Lu Qianqian seemed to be in a bit of a mess. Miss Lu, what's going on? Lu Qianqian was eager to go back. He didn't dare to say more. He just hurried to the ceremony and said, It's just a joke between me and my sister. This girl is stupid and she has become a real girl. Don't blame your highness. There's something wrong in the courthouse. I'll leave first. Then, without waiting for Yan Mo to reply, he left in a hurry. Yan Moli looks at Lu Qianqian. Although he deliberately keeps gentle, he is still a bit flustered. His eyes can't help but cast on the corridor in front of the courtyard. His deep eyes gradually faint with a touch of ink, which is hard to figure out. Do you want to go in, Your Highness? The bodyguard hesitated and asked carefully. No, go back. Yan Emily Mao in the ink color shoe of a clothes, turned round to stride to leave, did a few steps, then stop a pace again low voice way. Will the recent affair check clearly in addition, this side pay more attention to some. The flowers on this street are really more and more interesting. Yan Moli and his party finally set out to return to Beijing 3 days later. Yan Beiqing took people to see them off, and Mo Shanghua went with them. From the beginning to the end, Mo Shanghua never saw Lu Qianqian. I only heard that she had been ill these days, and she got on the carriage first. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.